And we are live. All right, you can now YouTube if you so desire. Sorry about that. It's my fault. I don't know what's going on. But in case you're wondering, I am ready for St. Patrick's Day. You just can't see it. You see that? I haven't worn these in almost a year. Yes. Do you remember the last time I wore these? The only time I've ever worn these? Our golf tournament, which fell last year on St. Patty's Day. And we're just less than a week now away. And I have no promotional reason to talk about Honor Flight Open 4th Annual because we're sold out. As I warned you, we would be. But we appreciate everybody that's been involved. Jen Park, the pro up at BCC, Paul Guerra, people at Double Eagle Golf, Salty's Barbecue, Casey Steakhouse, Sangera Subaru, all of our sponsors. We cannot thank you enough. Anyway, we begin with the Lawrence Skidmore mess. KGET has upped the ante and has done exactly what I suggested yesterday, and that is create a timeline. They have made a public records request for all communications in the last year or two between the DA's office and the Open Door Network. Because remember what my thesis is, and I base this on their own actions, where they originally came out with a statement that was released by the district attorney's public relations officer, Danielle Gonzaga, when she wrote, the new provider has a greater depth of victim service programs that we feel are more tailored to the needs of victims, and we are confident that the improved services will enhance our ability to assist victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking, and elder abuse. The Kern County Family Justice Center is excited to welcome a new community partner and service provider in the near future, and we look forward to sharing more details soon. So I think it's reasonable to read that and believe that at that point they had found a new provider. Well, they have 10 days and counting, I think we're down to 8 now, to answer the public records request by KGT 17 and ABC 23, in which they're going to find out when exactly did we hire this new service provider? Because it's my theory that they are using the need for a new service provider to cover up the Cynthia Zimmer vendetta firing of Open Door Network. I think it's crystal clear that this was what this was all about. The evidence is clear. The fact that they claim that there's a provider that they can find that can provide better service than the Open Door Network. The idea that after the fact, when they could have simply just walked away, they could have simply just walked away and said exactly what the press release says. That's why you have a press secretary, to relieve the heat of having the bosses to comment on such. But why did the bosses comment? Why did Ken Russell submit a letter the very next day? Why did another Cynthia Zimmer flunky, please stand by the name of, just got to go back a little bit further in the notes, that's all. Just relax. Just everybody calm down. We got till 6 o'clock. I don't want to get the man's name wrong. He's in here somewhere. Where are you, Joe? It's Joe something. Maybe I don't have it in here. Oh, Lord. I don't have it in here. Joseph Kinzel. Ken Russell and Joseph Kinzel were the runs that wrote the poison pen letter calling the Skidmore unprofessional, calling her unethical. Why? Why did they take it up a notch? Why not just walk away? Because it's personal. It's personal. There is a complete divide in this community, clearly, and Cynthia Zimmer has created it. She could have just terminated the relationship with Open Door Network and walked away, but she didn't do that. She had her 2 flunkies write really disturbing letters impugning the integrity and ethics of this woman when there's no record of that within the DA's office. I have 3 different sources within the DA's office who insist there's no record of any problems with this woman. Not until September of 2025, when they accused her of getting into a case that was in court today, the CSUB basketball player, and the Mata case, the horrible torture case. But we all know what instigated this, and this was Lauren Skidmore siding with the DA's nephew's estranged wife, Christina Scrivener. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back, as we've talked about all week long, was her appearance in Sacramento with Christina Scrivener and one of their terrorized 4 children, terrorized at the hands of our DA's nephew, who has single-handedly destroyed a really good DA's career. As I talked about yesterday, that is the tragic thing of this, is the 4 children. And that when they're my age, they'll still remember their no good POS father who destroyed their youth, absolutely destroyed their youth. But the other, I don't know if it's tragedy, but a sadness for our community. So we're losing a good DA. I'm sure in the circles that she travels, everybody is telling her that she's going to win overwhelmingly in 2028. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Neither is Kathy Scrivener ever going to get elected dog catcher. She's on the KHSD Board of Trustees. She, according to our sheriff, also committed, along with her son, committed a crime by telling her grandchildren not to cooperate with the police. And the fact that the KHSD trustees have not stepped up and demanded that she resign immediately shows where we are in this entitled old boy network community. It still exists. It was in full throttle when I first moved here in 1992, but the old boy network still exists in this town, where if you're powerful and you have a position, you feel as if you can do whatever the hell you want. Well, guess what? The community is barking back. And the travesty that was Zach Scrivener has absolutely mobilized people. And as I said, I was reluctant to use the R word. I really was. I wasn't going to use it. And then we found out by 5:30, KGET had already had a poll where people were absolutely in favor. People were texting in, not poll, people were texting in demanding a recall. Is it going to be successful? I doubt it. I doubt it. I still think she has enough popularity and enough pull to stave off a recall. But this thing isn't going anywhere. Because, as I said, they have about a week to respond to the questions, the public records questions that were demanded by 17 and 23. And we're going to find out what the timeline is. And in my opinion, we're going to find out that they've been less than genuine. Let's put it that way. Less than genuine in terms of dealing with this. Teresa Goldner is going to join us in just a couple of minutes. She's going to give us her legal opinion on this as a former Kern County counsel. This shall be fascinating. In the meantime, let's go ahead and take our first break of the day. And when we come back, there has clearly been a split in this community. There are 2 sides in this, whatever you want to call it. Stan Ellis has now stepped in and is clearly on the Lauren Skidmore side. I'll explain. Then, as I mentioned, at the bottom of the hour, Teresa Goldner will join us. We'll talk about the resignation of a guy you probably never even heard of by the name of Joe Kent. He's the director of national counterterrorism, and he's resigned from the Trump administration. But it's a little more complicated than that. It gets into his past and who he is and his motivation for insisting there was no imminent danger from the Iranians. And in fact, we were pulled into this war by the Israelis. And you can probably figure out where we're going with that. Plus, Kristen Cabot, the woman whose life changed in 16 seconds, is talking when she should probably just shut up and fade away. But she's troubled. She can't get a job. She's going through death threats, going after her children. She spoke out with billionaire Oprah Winfrey. And we'll get into the SAVE Act and the 5. They had a test vote today, and it passed the majority, but there's no chance of getting 60 if you ask me, but you never know. Quick time out, just getting started on a Tuesday. It's the Ralph Bailey Show. and a happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. Right here on News Talk 96.1 at AM 1180 KERN. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.
We got Adaptive up first.
And Buck Sexton show. Trump continues to pound Iran. Senior leadership losses are mounting. Will there be some change in this regime, or are we counting down the days until we declare mission accomplished? We'll discuss that. Plus, New York City spending an unbelievable amount on the homeless programs there. We'll discuss if there's a lot of fraud involved as well, coming up on Clay and Buck.
Live 9 to noon. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Coming up tomorrow on the Ralph Bailey Show, owner-operators of Adaptive Networks, Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, join us live in studio. They are the owners of the IT team that American General Media uses every single day to keep us going. And as I've talked about, you need somebody secure and safe and dependable, like the folks at Adaptive Networks. Call them today if you're concerned about your IT needs at 661-241-0638 or online at adaptive-net.com. At Adaptive Networks, they know that no two businesses are exactly alike, and your IT shouldn't be either. While other MSPs offer one-size-fits-all packages, Adaptive Networks takes the time to listen and understand your specific challenges, your industry requirements, and your growth goals. They build custom technology solutions that actually fit your business, not the other way around. And again, nobody knows that better than the folks right here at American General Media. Call the folks at Adaptive Networks at 661-241-0638. Hit them online at adaptive-net.com or join the show tomorrow when they join us, Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, live in studio.
Think about this. In 2006, $20,000 equaled roughly 33 ounces of gold at the spot price. At today's prices, those 33 ounces would be worth over $150,000. Smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals. That's why I buy gold from Birch Gold Group. It's a crucial part of my balanced strategy. Gives me peace of mind given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you too. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold.
I did it!
Text my name, Dan, to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold. Now that's peace of mind. Text Dan to 989898. Again, text my name, Dan, to the number 98989. Also, before I forget, we got Condors tickets to give away today, too.
All right.
Business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
Are you looking for a hospital that truly cares for your health and well-being? At Good Samaritan Hospital, they provide high-quality medical detox, psychiatric services, and medical and surgical care. They accept most insurances, including Medi-Cal, Medicare, and Kern Family. They offer Kern County's longest-standing inpatient detox program with dual diagnosis that combines medical care and withdrawal management all under one roof. Learn more at GoodSamaritanHospital.com or call 661-215-7500. Good Samaritan Hospital. They care for their community.
You're listening to the Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm not too blind to see. Never be a beast of burden. My feet are hurting. I'm on the radio. Come on, baby. Look up to me. So as I mentioned, there is a divide in the community on this. I guess to make it simple, just call it Cynthia Zimmer versus Lauren Skidmore. I know that's probably not fair to either of them, but nevertheless, as I mentioned, Assemblymember Stan Ellis, has clearly taken Lauren Skidmore's side. Today, he honored Lauren Skidmore as the 2026 Woman of the Year ceremony. This was yesterday, I should say. I'll read from the press release from Stan Ellis's office. Lauren Skidmore leads the Open Door Network with courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to individuals and families experiencing homelessness as well as survivors of violence. This recognition celebrates her exceptional leadership and tireless dedication to uplifting vulnerable populations in Kern County and surrounding areas. And the only reason I laugh, because you've got an assembly member calling her one of the greatest things since deodorant. And you've got the top cop, the district attorney, saying that she's unprofessional and unethical, which is basically calling somebody a liar, you know. And even worse, to say that you're unprofessional, that you're not employable, you know, that's what she's telling this community. I wouldn't hire this woman if I you. That's why I've taken this so seriously. You know, I got 3 or 4 phone calls last night, literally, up until about 10 o'clock at night, with literally 4 different views, but everyone trying to toe the line. But Lauren's a great gal. You know what I'm saying? Because 2 of the 4 phone calls I received, reading between the lines, I think they were siding with Cynthia Zimmer on this. They explained some things that happened at the meeting, the infamous meeting that Lauren was invited to by the district attorney's office, which she did not go to. And some of those who I believe were leaning that way questioned why, if you have a 7-figure contract with the DA's office, why would you blow off such a meeting? Which is a legitimate question. We asked Lauren that, and she walked us through it. She did not feel that she had done anything to jeopardize any cases. And that's another hole in the DA's thrown together, manufactured theory that they didn't go ballistic at the very sign that there was a group in this community that was jeopardizing their prosecutions. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems to me that if I'm the DA and the Ralph Bailey show is doing something that's putting a prosecution in jeopardy, I'm going to jump on Ralph Bailey like a silverback gorilla. There's not going to be any letters. I'm going to send him a cease and desist. I might demand that he come to my office. I mean, you're jeopardizing prosecutions is what they're claiming she was doing. And there's no record of them having a problem with this. And that's why 17 and 23, I think primarily 17, I think 23 is involved as well. But I know KGET, the countdown is on. She has 10 days to respond to their public records request. And then we'll all know what's really going on, as I want to say. Because we'll have a timeline when they contacted other agencies to fill the void. Or was this a snap decision out of familial bias and absolute anger at someone leading an organization who's not on your side, to be quite blunt, and is siding with the children and Christina, the estranged wife and mother of the 4 children who have been terrorized by their no good, indecent, disgraced, despicable human being of a father, Zach Scrivener. Please stand by. I won't, it's pretty, hang on, God dang it, why is my, and I am told that the DA doesn't pay the staff at Open Door Network. They provide their own funding sources through grants that they obtain. This is such a slam dunk and just such a slip on the part of a really good DA who I have said, the thing that I love about Cynthia Zimmer is she detests criminals. But, you know, that's why they always say don't do business with family, don't do business with friends, because emotions get involved. And when family's involved, you do sometimes irrational and thoughtless things. And I think they've kicked open Pandora's box and they can't close it. I really don't think so. We'll take a quick time out. We'll look at the legal end of this with the former counsel to Kern County. Teresa Goldner joins us next. I am
News Talk
starving.
96.1 and AM 1180.
Good afternoon.
With our current news on TV,
Yeah, you're a
in
little lighter
Washington,
than me.
President Trump is delaying a diplomatic trip to
Yeah.
China that was planned for months but began to unravel as he pressured Beijing and other world powers to form a military coalition to protect the vital Strait of Hormuz. Trump said Tuesday while meeting with Irish Prime Minister Mikhail Martin in the Oval Office that he would be going to China in 5 or 6 weeks' time instead of at the end of the month. A 7-ton meteor that sped across the Cleveland sky at 45,000 miles per hour on Tuesday broke apart in a thunderous boom that startled residents who feared an explosion. People several states away reported seeing the bright fireball even though it was 9 a.m. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 46 points. The NASDAQ rose 105. More details at srnnews.com.
No.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180. KERN.
Did you really?
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180. KERN.
She was crossing on a crosswalk at 4th and P just after midnight, say Bakersfield police. That woman was hit by a minivan and killed. Her name has not yet been made public. Officers say the driver of the minivan gave them a statement, and they do not believe that person was impaired. The Community First ordinance that would have banned ICE agents from private city-owned property in Delano was voted down at last night's city council meeting. That ordinance had been proposed by the mayor. A trial date of April 27th has been set for 23-year-old Michael Mendez, accused in the August 24th, 2024 killing of Xavier Lopez, whose body was found in the street on East Perkins in McFarland. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180. KERN.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
Wednesday's Armstrong and Getty show.
So
We'll
what do
have
you think?
all the news, like serious news. How are we going to open the Strait of Hormuz? How about romantic news? Punch the monkey has a
Okay.
girlfriend. This
I've
is
never
good.
seen
Plus, the left
community
media really
split.
celebrating the counterterrorism official who's resigning over the
And not
Iran
even
war.
really
Who
split.
is this character?
Those people are taking
Where
our
did he come
side.
from? What does he think? We'll bring
Yeah.
you the truth. That's what we do on the Armstrong and Getty
Although
show.
two of the phone
Weekdays
calls I
noon to
got,
2 on News Talk
They gave me some information that I
96.1
did not
and
know.
AM 1180.
the meeting
KERN.
that she
I'm
blew
JR
off.
Flores. Catch my show, The
Yeah.
JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room
True.
without a roof. I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is.
It's a Tuesday, and you can see in her St. Patty's former judge and former Kern County Council, Teresa Goldner. Patrick's Day.
Thank you, Ralph. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you too. And I got to say, you have on those shorts there.
Thank you.
Can your
Can you
viewers
see
see
that?
that? I like to think that we match today. What do you think?
I think you're a little lighter than I am. A little bit lighter.
Is that called super lime green?
I think this is like isn't this Kelly green?
Oh, I think Kelly green is more kind of darkish, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's pretty though. Looks good on you.
Thank you.
You
I
look
saw-
very Irish today, Mr. Bailey.
I've worn them twice. Last year at our golf tournament, which was on St. Patrick's Day,
I bet everybody loves that.
and I dug them out of the closet. That's why they're all wrinkled.
You
and I
should wear
wore
them more
today.
often.
Green is not my color. Green is not really my color.
Well, I don't wear green that much anyway, but I just really
Yeah,
like
neither
this
do I.
shirt. It always makes me happy.
I do have a green polo that I just got. It's a sweater, so I couldn't wear it today.
Very
But-
good.
but-
Well, hey, we have some exciting things to talk about today.
Yes,
don't we?
we do.
Besides St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. You want to just jump in, or you want me to start asking questions, or how you want to go about this?
Whatever you want to do. I leave it to you. This is the Ralph Bailey Show, so
No,
I
no,
will
no, no,
leave it
no.
up
This
to
is
you.
the Teresa Goldner half hour.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I mean, I
Yes,
can
you-
talk about
I have
anything.
told you that. I have told you that. So I tell all my regulars.
No, I remember
this
one
is
time.
your segment. Handle it.
One time you asked me, "Is this my show or yours?" I remember you said that to me.
Well, I get to dictate where we're going and who speaks more, but the segment, nevertheless, the topic is up to you.
I know. I like picking out topics, but you wanted to talk about Lauren Skidmore's and the district attorney's. I'm going to call it a kerfluffle.
Well, I think you contacted me
It's a
first,
kerfluffle.
Suggesting
That we talk
su-
about
yes.
it. Well, yeah, I'm okay
So
with
don't
talking
make it seem
about
like I made you
I don't
come in here and
think-
talk about it.
I know that you said this is a huge thing and the community is very divided about it and all that sort of thing. But
They're using the word recall
oh, that's silly.
already.
That's silly. Here's what if you want it, are you asking what I think?
Absolutely.
How can I say this? I think this is a big deal over nothing, over very little. I don't think it's a very big issue from a legal perspective. Cynthia Zimmer, as the district attorney, as the department head, had every right to do exactly what she did.
Sure she did.
She did not terminate the contract. She simply did not renew it. And she gave notice as she was supposed to do under the terms of her contract.
Okay, let me stop you right there.
Yes.
That's television talk.
But that's
So
what she
technically,
did.
I was never fired from television because my contract was not renewed.
You just weren't renewed.
Yes,
Right.
but
That's a difference.
There's no there. There's
Well,
a,
you can't say
what-
that
what's
that's
the
firing
phrase?
somebody.
There's a there's a difference.
Distinction without a difference.
Yes,
Difference without a
exactly.
distinction.
Exactly.
Well, she just didn't renew her contract, and you were right in your comments that the district attorney did not have to say the reasons why she was doing it. She could have just quietly not renewed it, and there you go. But
And that's the issue.
But on the other
That's
hand,
the issue.
I credit Cynthia Zimmer for giving her reasons for doing what she did. And in my opinion, she had every legal right to do what she did. And I'm going to even go so far as to say, I think she was 1,000% correct to do it based upon the law, based upon the contract, and based upon the ethical obligations of the district attorney's office. I think it would have been improper if District Attorney Zimmer had not declined to renew that contract. I think that she should have let her go. I think that Ms. Skidmore, as a valuable member of the community, I appreciate everything that Lauren has done. I've met her before. I have a lot of respect for her. But in my opinion, she got way ahead of her skis on this matter.
On which matter?
On everything that she did with respect to talking about criminal cases during the pendency of the criminal proceedings. That is a big no-no legally for anybody that is affiliated with the district attorney's office. And the Open Doors Network was very much affiliated with the district attorney's office because of their contract that they had with the DA's office and the fact that they kind of leveraged their presence in the community because of their connection with the district attorney's office. And that brings them, I believe, subject to the state bar rules of professional conduct that deal with what prosecutors and people that are affiliated with the district attorney's office can and cannot say about cases while those cases are pending.
Okay.
So
How did she
Cynthia
violate that?
Well, there's two rules that I think were violated here, and they kind of build on top of each other. The first one is rule of professional conduct section 3.6. And I actually brought it in case you wanted to read it.
Okay.
But basically, it says that a prosecutor, in a civil case, an attorney cannot make an extrajudicial statement, which just means a statement that's made out of court that would material impact the ability of a judicial proceeding and the defendant to have a fair trial. That's really what it says. So you have to be very circumspect about what you say as a lawyer, even in a civil case. You can't just go out there and talk about anything. You have to, your First Amendment right is legally limited by the rules of professional conduct.
Okay.
And that's one of the, and that's been something that has been the case. It came down from you like this case. It came out of a case in 1969 that went to the United States Supreme Court. And it's called Shepard versus Maxwell. Do you remember the case of Dr. Sam Shepard?
Yes.
He went to trial.
Accused of what's the movie is based on.
That's right.
The Fugitive.
Bludgeoning his wife to death.
A physician accused of killing his wife. In fact, it's what put F. Lee Bailey on the map as an attorney.
That's right.
Because he originally represented Dr. Shepard.
And do you remember the basis for his appeal that went all the way up to the Supreme Court?
Lauren Skidmore must have said something during the case.
No, is that a joke? I don't think she was alive back then.
I was barely alive back then, so no.
Yeah, you were in 1969. How old were you? You
that
were a
would be
baby.
None of your business. I was a young buck living in New York City on a naval base.
Okay, there you go. Yes. Well, in that case, that was the Supreme Court came down and talked about pretrial publicity in cases, especially in criminal cases. And the court came down and held that when you have this kind of pretrial publicity that is so prejudicial that it prevents, it has a likelihood of preventing the defendant from having a fair trial, that's improper, and that can be the basis for a reversal. And in fact, that's what happened in that case.
Explain.
Well, when you have massive publicity.
What case are we talking about?
I'm talking about the Dr. Shepard case.
Oh, okay.
So that's how his case was reversed by the Supreme Court because of pretrial publicity.
By whom?
By the Supreme Court, by the United.
No, but who committed the offense?
The media, people and lawyers talking to the media in that case, and the prosecutors talking to the media in that case. That's where they kind of put a real damper on what lawyers can say to the media, and it was really a debate between lawyers' free speech rights and the right of a defendant to have a fair trial. And the court came down very clearly in that case that said you can't have comments that are going to prejudice a defendant's right to a fair trial. Lawyers can't be talking about things like that. And that's where it really started. And so the cases really rolled in after that to the point where now every state in the country has a rule that basically mimics what the American Bar Association's rule is on these types of things, including the state of California.
Now that we understand the law, let's take a quick phone call. Who you got?
Caleb is on the line.
Caleb, quickly, you've got a question or a comment?
Hey, I had a question. If the DA's office took such umbrage to Skidmore or Lauren's conduct, why didn't they terminate the contract for cause earlier?
Good question, Caleb. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, you want me to answer that?
Absolutely.
No, you'd have to talk to the DA's office about that, Caleb, but that's a great question. We're going to find out about what the chronology was of when things happened. That'll be very interesting.
That will tell the entire story.
Right. We might
because remember what my problem with this is.
You think it was something that was made up to cover the tracks because you think it's retaliation by the DA's office.
Exactly. And I think they showed their hand when they initially stated through their public relations person that they basically implied that they had already hired a new provider. I'll read it and you tell me as a judge, how do you interpret this public relations release by the DA's office?
I listened to you.
You heard it? I'll read it again in case we have new listeners. The new provider has a greater depth. They're alluding to a new provider here.
Right.
And I should have this timestamp, but I can certainly look it up. The new provider has a greater depth of victim service programs that we feel are more tailored to the needs of victims. We are confident that the improved services will be improved. So they're using the past tense.
Right.
Meaning that we've already got somebody
a better job.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what they've established right here. Okay, at least we're in agreement with that. The improved services will enhance our ability to assist victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking, and elder abuse. Kern County Family Justice Center is excited to welcome a new community partner and service provider in the near future. So now they've kind of tipped their hand. We really haven't hired anybody yet. It's in the near future, and we look forward to sharing more details soon. Yeah, because 17 has put a public records request because they've answered no questions up to now. Why is that? Why hasn't Cynthia Zimmer held a news conference? Why hasn't she come out and said something and denied all of these, what she claims to be, I'm assuming, wrongful charges, that it's petty and it's revenge for Lauren Skidmore being on the Christina Scrivener team?
I don't think it is petty, and I don't think it's revenge. Based on information from the DA's office that's out there in the public record already, those are, I think that's the comment from Mr. Kinzel, Assistant DA, District Attorney Joe Kinzel. I believe he's the one that wrote this information.
Him and Ken Russell were the two.
Right. Ms. Skidmore had actually been making comments in the public to the media, giving interviews about other pending murder cases. And it's not just the Zach Scrivener matter that prompted all of this. I think you referenced the Ray Mata. Isn't that the Cal State person?
No, that's the La Quinta Hotel torture case.
Is that the
Gabrielle? I believe the child's name
right.
was
Ray Mata and
Ray Mata
Graciela
was the dad.
Bustamante.
Yes.
Right. The death of the little girl Gracias.
Yes.
Genesis Mata. So she'd gone out and made statements to the public in interviews with the media about giving opinions about who is guilty of alleged crimes. She was giving her opinions on the severity and the alleged unprecedented nature of the alleged crimes.
These are allegations being made by the DA's office.
And her opinion.
By citing nothing, though. Do they attribute it? Do they cite something?
They do. They say in their letter that they sent to her on September 25th, telling her on September 16th, 2025, telling Ms. Skidmore that they're very unhappy with what she's been doing and telling her to knock it off. They actually attached copies of interviews or information from the interviews where she made statements to people like that. And if that is true, that is way out of line for somebody who's affiliated with the district attorney to do something like that. And the reason why it's way out of line is because of Rules of Professional Conduct 3.6 and 3.8E. 3.6 is the one that says an attorney can't, shouldn't, even if it's a civil matter, that you really shouldn't talk to the media about cases if it's going to materially affect the outcome. It has a likelihood of materially affecting the outcome. But when it's a criminal case, the bar is even higher for prosecutors. There's a special rule.
Lauren Skidmore is not a prosecutor.
Doesn't matter, because the special rule that has to do with prosecutors, and it actually says, Rule 3.8 of the Rules of the State Bar of California, special responsibilities of a prosecutor. And what it says is they have to exercise reasonable care to prevent persons under the supervision or direction of the prosecutor, including investigators, law enforcement personnel, employees, or, here's the big part, other persons. And that's where I think Lauren Skidmore comes in as another person, assisting or associated with the prosecutor in a criminal case, from making extrajudicial, out-of-court statements that the prosecutor would be prohibited from making under Rule 3.6.
Okay, I don't think it's a mystery any longer who's texting me. She's asking, why did they backdate the letter? Why did they mention the rules in the termination letter? Why didn't the original letter from September mention that the agreement was at jeopardy due to the media comments?
Well, the Rule 3. The letter, whoever is asking that question or texting that to you, the letter to Ms. Lauren Skidmore from Ken Russell, the Assistant DA, dated September 16, 2025, does that. It actually cites the Rules of Professional Conduct 3.6A. It cites the ABA rule that is consistent with it. It also cites California Rule of Professional Conduct 3.8E, which is the one that I just told you about. And it basically says you cannot be going out in the public and making these kinds of statements. You are affiliated with the district attorney's office. You have a contract with us to provide certain services to victims. And that doesn't include going out to the media and getting ahead of your skis and talking about your own personal opinions about whether someone is guilty or not guilty, whether this is an unprecedented case or what you think the result of the case should be. That is, in my opinion, that is improper for someone who is affiliated with the prosecutor's office to be saying in public, because it prejudices a defendant's right to a fair trial under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. I think that Lauren made a mistake. Ms. Skidmore made a mistake by saying those things and doing those things, and she was put on notice of that as far back as September of 2025.
From a backdated letter.
I don't know if it was backdated or not.
She insists it was.
Well, she had notice of it. She knew what she said. She knows what was said in those interviews. She really had no, in my opinion, she had no legal basis for saying that because she's affiliated with the DA's
What
office.
did she say?
She said, all I know is what I received or what I read about what the district attorney's office said. And that is that her public commentary, which was offered in news interviews, said that she gave her opinions to the media on who is guilty of these crimes.
So they're not saying what she said; they're describing what she said.
That's right, but supposedly.
Okay, see, I'm a journalist.
But supposedly,
see, I'm a journalist.
Wait.
I'm a journalist. So I want to see what she said.
Right.
I can say Teresa Goldner said this and kind of describe a bigger picture of what you said. But if I can't say Teresa Goldner said this man was guilty, that's just the description of the DA's office. And what are they going to be on her side? You think they're going to describe it as something innocent and not prejudicial?
Let me tell you something else. In the letter, in the prosecutor's summary of their interaction with her with respect to all of this, they talked about how they sent her this letter in September of 2025. They informed her of the ethical problems that were associated with her public comments and basically her news appearances, as well as the prosecutor's obligation to prevent that kind of commentary. District attorneys and deputy district attorneys can't say those things to the public when a trial is pending. And that means Lauren Skidmore, as an affiliated with the DA's office, can't say it either. That falls exactly under the umbrella of Rule 3.8E of the Rules of Professional Conduct. But this summary from the DA's office says the letter included printed versions of the news interviews that Skidmore had given and some of the commentary that she had provided on the two referenced cases. And that has to do with the Mata case and then the Kevin Mays case. And it said that the copy of the letter that was mailed to her was attached. I haven't seen the attachments to the letter. I've just seen the letter. And then it talks about, I think you mentioned earlier, that there were a couple of meetings. They asked to have personal meetings with her. And it sounds like she didn't go to the first one. So they made a second interview with her coordinated around her schedule, and she didn't appear at that one either. So I can see why the district attorney would say, what's going on here? We've got a serious problem with somebody who's out there causing us to be in violation of our rules of professional ethics because she's not complying with what we're trying to do to supervise her from making these inappropriate extrajudicial comments about pending cases. And then she doesn't show up to the meeting. So I can see why they would not want to have a contract with her anymore. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say, and I hope that District Attorney Zimmer doesn't mind me saying this, if I were the district attorney, I would have done exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have waited until March. If it was so significant, because the Mata case, in my opinion, is bigger than the Scrivener case. This is a child that was viciously tortured and murdered by two no-goodniks. It would seem to me that if I'm the DA and I've got a problem child in my camp, and I've got a trial that involves an 8-year-old child that was tortured in a tub, and Teresa Goldner put my prosecution in jeopardy, you would be summarily fired.
I would be.
But
I would
this
be very
firing,
upset.
this firing came in the wake of Lauren Skidmore going to Sacramento and being seen with Christina Scrivener, the DA's no good nephew's estranged wife, and the appearance of one of the 4 children who Mr. Scrivener has terrorized for the rest of their lives and has, in my opinion, destroyed his aunt's political career and his mother's political career all in one swoop.
Which is also another example of inappropriate statements made by someone who is affiliated with the DA's office, made in a public setting, made in media interviews, that was wrong under these rules of professional conduct, that the district attorney is professionally obligated to put the whammy on when people do those kinds of things.
But they didn't.
Well,
but they didn't, did they?
They gave her notice.
I'm asking you like an attorney.
No.
Did they? Did they do what you just described?
They told her in this letter, they told her to knock it off. I want to.
And yet did nothing about it.
I want to read to you the last sentence of the letter.
This is September of 2025. She got fired in March of 26.
So she was
They
on
got a
no-
slow draw? Well,
that tells you she was on notice as far back as September of 2025 that she needed to stop making these comments. And she
so
didn't do it.
what
Ralph,
instigated the firing and now in March?
it sounds to me, I'm just surmising here, but it sounds to me like here's what the last sentence of the letter says, just to give you some context. It says, "We have always appreciated your commitment to supporting and advocating on behalf of all victims. The Kern County District Attorney's Office asks that you refrain from commenting on cases that are still pending in our courts." And did she do that? No. She kept commenting on cases that were still pending in the courts. So they put her on notice. They gave her examples. They cited the rules of professional conduct. They are absolutely right in their legal analysis of their obligations and their obligations to supervise her and tell her not to make these kinds of comments because you're putting these cases at risk. And they tell her that in the letter, yet she doesn't come and meet with them after they sent her this letter. She had 2 chances to do it. And then she continued to make out of court statements dealing with matters that were still pending in the courts. I think that gives the district attorney plenty of legal reasons to terminate that contract, but they don't even need to have a legal reason.
She insists that she didn't attend the meetings because they would not discuss which cases that were in question.
That doesn't matter. When someone who is a department head, a county department head that you have a contract with wants to come in and talk to you about your performance under the contract, you need to go in and talk to them.
I agree with that.
You don't
I
have,
agree
you
with that.
shouldn't.
That was a mistake on Lauren's part not to attend the 2 meetings.
It was a big mistake. It really was a big mistake. And I don't know why you say why she didn't show up, but that was wrong of her. But Cynthia Zimmer didn't even have to give her a reason. Cynthia Zimmer could have just not renewed her contract.
And that's the crux of the entire matter, Teresa. That's the crux of the entire matter. Why not just walk away? Why do you believe that Lauren Skidmore is unprofessional and unethical? She's dishonest?
I don't believe.
Isn't that to call somebody unethical out in the community in which they were born and raised? Isn't that calling them a liar?
No. And this is why.
If you called me unethical, I would think you were calling me a liar.
In my opinion, Lauren Skidmore violated the rules of professional conduct that are applicable to her with respect to her relationship with the district attorney's office. Those rules were violated, in my opinion, by the extrajudicial comments that she made by going out and giving all these media interviews about cases and expressing her opinions on the innocence or the guilt, all those things that we just talked about. That was out of line.
So why go on record?
So she violated those rules, or those rules were violated because of comments that she made.
So why not say that initially? Why say if we find in the initial
they said that in
termination, in the initial termination, they said we found a better provider.
Well,
and then Skidmore went on television, and then they followed up with, oh, and by the way, she's unprofessional and unethical.
Well, she knew since September of 2025 that they had problems with her performance because of her extrajudicial statements that put these cases at risk, because she was out there talking to the media while these cases were pending, which caused problems, potential serious problems with criminal defendants' rights to have a fair trial. That is
You think she
huge.
put the Mata case in jeopardy?
I think if she expressed her opinion about whether Mata is guilty or not, yes.
Then why doesn't a judge think so?
Well, if maybe no one has made a motion on it, I don't know. That gives.
Well, then why would they bring this up in the public if it could possibly? If I'm the defense attorney and I read this, I'm going to be like, let's run to court. Lauren Skidmore has just given us a reason for appeal.
If I were a defense lawyer, I would have done that. If I was representing a defendant and someone,
because it's manufactured,
and someone,
no DA would put out evidence that would damage their own case.
Lauren,
okay, let me. I'll play lawyer. I'll play lawyer.
Okay.
Do you believe, as a judge, that a prosecution, the district attorney's office, would put out evidence that could possibly damage their case? Because that's essentially what they've done. Have they not?
The district
They're citing. Wait, let me finish.
No.
They're citing that Lauren Skidmore screwed up our case. Did they not?
Yes.
Okay. Is that typical behavior by a district attorney's office?
Hold on.
No, you got to answer my question, Teresa.
Hold your
You got to answer my question. Is that
horses.
typical behavior of a district attorney's office to put out evidence that can damage my case? Why would I want people to know that?
The district attorney's office acted honorably and professionally by giving her a notice on September 16th,
Okay,
2025.
that's a great answer, but
that
it's not
she-
the answer to my question.
That she violated the rules of professional conduct, and they specifically asked her to knock it off.
Why would the district attorney's office put out information that would damage their case?
Don't ask me.
It makes no sense, does it?
It does make sense.
That they would put out information that would damage their case.
They gave her.
You just said that you don't know why they did it.
Ralph, they had a contract with her. She wasn't performing that contract properly. They had and she blew them off with meetings, and she ignored their directions to her to stop talking about these cases while these criminal cases were pending because it might violate criminal defendants' right to a fair trial in our community. That's serious stuff. And I actually am very glad that Cynthia Zimmer took the action that she did and decided not to renew
I'm
it.
going to say she was negligent because she waited all the way till March. She should have fired her back months ago. We got to go into the floor. No, you never answered the question. Why would they put that out there?
AM
For damage
1180
to the Vermont?
KERN Green Acres. This is 96.
So why doesn't the Vermont people go back and request an appeal? Is that case over? That case isn't over yet.
Senate Republicans have kicked off a talkathon on a
Well, then
voter
they're
ID
idiots
bill
then.
that
They're
President
negligent.
Trump
They're
supports.
stupid.
White
They
House
put out
correspondent
evidence that's going
Greg
to help
Clugston
a
For
killer.
the next several days, GOP senators will hold the Senate floor and debate a bill that Republican leader John Thune has
Because there
repeatedly
is no
said
motion because they're
doesn't
making
have
it
enough
up.
support for passage. But Republicans are moving
Said
ahead with
what
the
things?
talkathon because of President
I want to
Trump's
see a
insistence.
direct quote.
Legislation would require proof of citizenship to vote
She sent
and
me a bunch
eliminate
of stuff
mail-in
and I
ballots.
couldn't even read.
The president warns he'll never, ever endorse anyone who votes against the bill. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Bank of America settles claims over lawsuits by Jeffrey Epstein's victims.
The deal came the same day billionaire investor Leon Black was originally to be deposed. The October lawsuit accused B of A of ignoring $170 million Black paid from his account to Epstein, purportedly for tax and estate planning advice. Though not a defendant, Black was described as a critical witness. The lawsuit was brought on behalf of a woman identified as Jane Doe, who was living in Russia when she met Epstein in 2011. The suit says she was coerced into a cult-like life. Julie
I don't
Walker,
believe what the
New
DA's
York.
The Iran war
She
has
sent me
scrambled
2
the Federal
pages of
Reserve's
what she
outlook
said.
on inflation
Human
and
trafficking
unemployment
victims
and will
are
likely
amongst the
further
most
delay
traumatized
interest rate
victims that we
cuts this
see.
year,
They're lifelong
putting off any
effects
relief
to
for
being a
consumers
victim
struggling with
of human
high
trafficking.
borrowing
You
costs
know,
for home
trauma
and
will
car
show up throughout
purchases.
your body in
The
many
spike
ways.
in oil and
These
gas
individuals,
prices presents
that's what she's
already
saying. It
divided
has
Fed
nothing to do.
officials with a
That's what
worst
she's
case
saying.
scenario.
These are what they're
They
citing.
conclude a key
This is what
meeting
they're
on
citing.
Wednesday. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 46 points, the Nasdaq rose 105, the S&P advanced 16, oil around $96 a barrel. More at Town Hall.
So what I just read was a violation.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads
It is
about
not.
debt
The roadways
settlement
are definitely
that
an
seemed too
element
good to
that
be
is
true.
used for
And
human
actually,
trafficking. We
it
also know that
was.
not
When I
having to
called, they
communicate
told me to
via
stop paying my
face-to-face
bills.
makes access easier
That
for
didn't sound right
perpetrators,
to me at all,
makes it
so I
easier
hung
for the
up.
trafficker.
Later,
She's
I
just
found out
talking
that
in
debt settlement is
generalities.
bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's
The
called a
story
debt
was about
management
names.
program from the
It's
great
about
team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name. Please forget debt settlement.
Because it
and
has nothing to
remember
do with that.
Trinity
It has nothing
Debt
to do with the Vermont
Management.
case. It has nothing to do with today's case.
1-800-990-6976. From the KERN
Because they were
Newsroom,
creating,
your live and
just like they
local
do in
news
most places,
update on News Talk
they create,
96.1 and AM 1180
elements
KERN.
And then
A woman
when the
hit
hammer
while
really comes
crossing
down,
a
they just
Bakersfield
don't want
street.
you around.
I'm Chris
They can
Davis.
cite all
Police
they've
say
got
that
in
woman
the
is
jacket.
dead. Her name has not been released, but they have given information on the circumstances. They say the woman was crossing at 4th NP on an electric scooter on the crosswalk when she was hit by a Honda minivan. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the van stayed and gave a statement to police, and they do not believe that driver was drunk or on drugs. Crime in February in Bakersfield was down
foolish
overall,
of her to
with
do
fewer
it.
911 calls and fewer
Give them the
robberies, according to crime statistics released this week by Bakersfield PD.
Hey, she's a
There were
politician.
2 homicides in February 81 aggravated assaults, 40 robberies. There were also 145 car thefts. The number of homicides was the same for January and February. If you've been following the story in Delano about the ordinance that was proposed by the mayor to keep ICE away from private city-owned property or conducting immigration enforcement there, that was voted down at last night's city council meeting, reports KGET. The final vote was 3-2, with Mayor Salvador Solorio Ruiz and one council member voting in favor. More than half of the people who showed up to speak on the ordinance were in favor of it. The murder trial for 23-year-old Michael Mendez has been set for April 27th. He's the man accused in the August 24th, 2024 shooting death of 34-year-old Xavier Lopez, whose body was found on East Perkins in the street after he had been shot several times, say police and prosecutors. Mendez is charged with murder, discharging a firearm from a vehicle, and possessing a firearm as a felon. Gas in California this afternoon, $5.53 on average, says Gas Buddy. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180.
But that was wrong after the case.
What do you think? This is the army where you shoot them a mile away? You got to get up close like this. Little bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180. KERN.
Uh-oh.
Sure you leave the house.
My source
from
the
You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com.
I've got a source in the DA's
now,
office.
the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
I'm going to need you in here, Mr. Burdick. Miss Goldner has decided to hang around for a little bit, just a little bit. Maybe we'll do one segment. If we have to do two more, that's fine with me. We can go all the way to the bottom of the hour.
We're going to debate, right?
We are indeed, because what we were talking about during the break was more exciting than a lot of what we said on the air. So she's going to hang with us for just a second, and then I still got lots to do. We're talking about Kristen Cabot, the woman that you don't know by name, but you certainly know, at least for 16 seconds. 16 seconds that absolutely changed her life when, as the HR for a tech company, she was caught at a Coldplay concert, snuggly wuggly with her boss. She spoke with Oprah, and that might have been a big mistake. We got some audio play for you. Coming up in the 5, we'll talk about the SAVE Act. There was a test vote today in the Senate. It passed a majority, but nowhere near, almost strictly on party lines, nowhere near the 60 votes needed to get it passed, but they will begin debate. And I got a package on one of the sad stories we'll get to in the 5. The Dodgers are changing the name of the stadium. Not really, but kind of, sort of. As I said yesterday, doing that thing that the Chiefs have done, where it's Bailey Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Well, that's what the Dodgers are doing. They got involved with a, no surprise, a Japanese company, and they're calling it, what is it? I don't know what the name is, but it's something Field at Dodger Stadium. So we'll get into that. But as you can see, for those viewing on YouTube, Miss Goldner has stayed with us. I have a couple of sources that have contacted me throughout this, and one of them writes me saying,
Are these anonymous sources?
yes, they are. I'm still a journalist, and I would never give up my sources. Prosecutors are responsible for, quote, the prosecution team. If the argument is that Lauren, and by extension her people, are part of the prosecution team, then all statements made by victims are discoverable. All services provided should be disclosed. You can't have it both ways. If you claim the rules of professional conduct apply because Lauren, Open Door are part of the team that the DA's office has, then the DA's office has the obligations that come with them being on the team.
That's right, they do. And that's exactly what the letter said that was issued on September 16th, 2025. They said, you are part of our team. You are affiliated with us. And part of the reason why we have these rules that prosecutors have special higher standards that are applicable to them, and other persons that are affiliated with them are also swept in under these rules, is because to the public, prosecutors and prosecutor offices and those who are affiliated with them are what they say holds a lot of weight with the public, more so than perhaps anybody else involved in the case. And that's why it's so important that they absolutely comply with these rules of professional conduct. And Lauren Skidmore, as the chief of the Open Doors Network, with a contract with the district attorney's office, is included in the other persons that are associated with the prosecutor that fall within Rule 3.8E of the State Bar Rules of Professional Conduct.
And I understand what you're saying, because we're coming at this from two separate angles.
Right.
I'm coming at this as a journalist.
Right.
You're coming at this as a law enforcement officer, as a judge.
I'm coming at it as a legal analyst.
Okay, a legal analyst. But you were part of the government.
Yes.
And that's, part of who you are. And as a journalist, I can tell you that this thing stinks to high heaven, because in the 40 years that I've been involved in communications, if what you're saying is accurate and strong, then why, A, did they not fire her immediately, summarily? Because you're telling me that the Mata situation and the Mays situation were two that what was your phrase? Major jaw drop.
Yeah, what made my jaw drop was when she went up to Sacramento with Shannon Grove and Zach Scribner's former wife and his
Christina.
son, and became part of this media tour, I guess you could call it, or media presentation, which by having Zach's former wife there, Christina, and having his son there, everybody knows what case they're talking about. They're talking about the Scribner case. Everybody knows that.
They were talking about legislation.
I know, but why did they have those two particular people there with them if they were just talking about legislation?
Because 90% of the community in which they live believe that her husband
and so,
got a pass on a child's sexual molestation
and
case.
The implication of that is, well, he must be guilty, therefore we need to change the law, right? Because we don't want guilty people to take advantage of a law like this.
No, I think the message is he was mischarged by the Attorney General's office, and that Senator Grove and Dr. Jasmine Baines, in an effort to draw attention to herself in her congressional race, are trying to create legislation that won't allow this, that won't allow a grown man to get in bed with a child and not be charged with a sexual charge, but charged with child endangerment, that provides a lane for them to simply walk away from being a sexual registered person for the rest of their lives, jail time, etc.
And what I hear you saying is that means that the implication is that he got away with committing a crime.
No, I did not say that. I'm staying in your realm now. I'm staying legal.
Okay.
No, we're saying he was mischarged. He was simply mischarged by the AG's office. Now, why he was mischarged, only Rob Bonta and that idiot Joe Penny can explain.
We have our theories about it.
Yes, we do. And I don't even go into that right now. But they knew, did they not, as an attorney, did they not know by not filing those charges, by specifically filing the child endangerment charges, that they were creating a lane for him to walk away from this thing completely scot-free?
Well, in my opinion, they either knew or they should have known. And
exactly.
If they knew and didn't do anything about it, that's bad. If they should have known and they didn't know, that's malpractice.
So then what made your jaw drop when a person involved with a domestic violence organization accompanies a state senator to put more teeth in the laws of human trafficking and domestic violence?
Because she's affiliated with the district attorney's office in a contract that makes her, in my opinion, subject to their supervision under the rules of professional conduct.
So you're saying that Cynthia Zimmer could not have appeared with Shannon Grove and saying that we need to toughen the law on charging?
Cynthia Zimmer could have done that if she wanted to, but would she have done that with a defendant in a pending case and their family members standing there? I don't think so.
It's a pending case when you have to go back and discover, the judge has to discover whether you're adhering to the mental diversion?
Yes,
because the
absolutely.
verdict was
there was
in the past.
Well, there was no verdict in the case. Remember, he was granted mental health diversion, and I believe the Attorney General's office has appealed that, and I don't think that appeal has been heard yet. So that's pending. Nothing is final in the case, and the court also continues to reserve jurisdiction over the case, have jurisdiction over the case until he actually finishes his mental health diversion. And I don't believe he's done that yet.
No.
At least I haven't heard that. So yes, technically it is a pending case. And therefore, in my opinion, it was inappropriate for those comments to have been made by somebody who is affiliated to the degree that she is with the district attorney's office through a contract. Now, if she doesn't have a contract with them and she's cut their ties with them and they've cut their ties with her, she's free. Her First Amendment rights, she can say whatever she wants to say, but her First Amendment rights are limited by those rules of professional conduct as long as she has a contract with the district attorney's office to provide the services. And when you go back and you look at the services that she's supposed to provide, none of them talk about going to press conferences and giving your personal opinion about whether you think the defendant is guilty or not.
She didn't say that. Why do you add that? She did not say that.
That's what
she
the letter.
Did not say whether they were guilty or not guilty.
Because that's what the
that's what they allege.
Yes, but that's what they allege that they say is supported by the transcript of an interview that she gave to the press. I don't have access to that transcript. All I have is a copy of the letter. The transcript was an attachment to the letter. So when we get a copy of the transcript, we can see exactly what she said to the media. But I don't think the district attorney's office would misrepresent that she actually gave news interviews regarding pending jury cases that included her opinions on who is guilty, the severity and unprecedented nature of the crimes, and her opinions on the impact of the crimes upon the victims of the case.
You really don't think they're capable of shaping what she said to meet what they're trying to do?
I don't think that they would misrepresent it and then say that they had transcripts of the interviews attached to the letter.
Here's the great thing. We're about to find out.
We are.
That's true. They've got less than 10 days to come up with the communications between not only the DA's office and the Open Door Network, but the communications between this alleged better service provider that they intimated that they hired just because they felt that they could do a better job.
Well, I have a couple comments on that. The first one is with respect to the public records request that was made by the television station. Under the Public Records Act, they have 10 days to respond and say whether they're going to produce the records, and then they have an unlimited amount of time. It has to be a reasonable time to actually produce the records. But if they want to, there's a statutory right for them to continue their response time, that is responding to say whether they're going to respond, by another 2 weeks. So they could actually stretch it out to 2 weeks plus 10 days before they actually say whether they're going to respond or not.
She received the attachment of the letter on March the 7th.
So she's got it.
On March the 7th.
And has she produced it to you? Has she produced it to the media? Is that the attachment to the letter?
Yes.
And what does the attachment say?
I don't know. She just gave me the date.
So she didn't give you the attachment. So you don't know what the attachment says.
No, I don't. No, I know when it was dated. That was my point. I know when it was dated. I don't know what it says.
There you go. Neither one of us knows what it says. I just know what the district attorney's office says that it says, and I believe that they are telling the truth about what they said she said, as reflected in a transcript of a media interview.
So you think this decision has nothing to do with her siding with the estranged wife's side of the family on this? What I surmise of this is they were unhappy with her because of her comments on these other cases that were pending, these serious cases. They told her to knock it off. She didn't knock it off. She continued to talk to the media, including the Scribner case later on, which was after September, and they probably finally said enough is enough. But we both agree those screenshots I sent you are the attachment to the letter I received. I received those in September.
So is she saying she received them in September or in March?
I'm not sure. Lauren, you're going to have to call the broadcast. I can't do the text message thing. You're going to have to call the show. And Terry won't bite. You can talk to Terry.
Yeah, I'll be nice to you, Ms. Skidmore, I promise. But one of the things, if you go back and you look and see, what was it that Open Doors Network was supposed to do? They were supposed to provide 24-hour crisis intervention, emergency shelter, transitional housing, licensed childcare, education for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking and their children. I don't see anything in there about the scope of her services with the county that says, and I get to express my own personal opinions about whether I think people are guilty or not while cases are pending.
The 3 quotes that I read you is what she claims or what they had a problem with. You remember the quotes that I read you? I can read them again if you want.
Sure.
In the Mays case, she said to the media, "The roadways are definitely an element that is used for human trafficking." She added, "We also know that not having to communicate via face-to-face makes access easier for perpetrators. It makes it easier for the trafficker to force somebody. The online platforms are just easier for perpetrators to navigate through and recruit at a faster and quicker pace.
So, in talking about the Mays case specifically, and
How is she being specific about the Mays case there?
well, you just said that it had to do with the Mays case. Her interview, the interview was about the Mays case.
Yes, but she doesn't mention Mays. She doesn't mention the case. She talks about human trafficking in general.
How do you know that it's not within the context of the Mays case? You have to look at the whole interview to know what the context
I'm
is.
looking at the entire interview. I can read you the whole story if you want.
Sure, let's listen to it.
You want to hear the whole story?
Sure.
A
If your
32-year-old
listeners
Bakersfield
want to.
man was arrested after allegedly trafficking a woman across 3 states. The investigation comes from an anonymous tip. The man was also arrested for weapons and drug charges. I know how to read. It's just in really small print if you're wondering why I'm reading like a third grader. The Bakersfield Police Department said on August 3rd, 2025, my birthday, Bakersfield Police Vice detectives received an anonymous tip claiming a woman was being trafficked across California, Oregon, and Washington. The person responsible was identified as 32-year-old Kevin Mays, according to police. Mays is a coach for the CSUB men's basketball team. Police said at first detectives weren't able to confirm a direct link between Mays and the victim. However, a police report from Washington State revealed the woman had been stopped while driving a rental or registered to Mays, which we later found out was registered to CSB. According to Bakersfield Police, as the investigation continued, detectives found multiple online ads showing the victim being trafficked, and they were able to track her down in Sacramento. BVD reached out to the Sacramento Police Department Human Trafficking Unit, who helped make contact with the victim. During that contact, she identified Mays as the trafficker, according to police. She also had his rental car in her possession, and the hotel room she was found in was booked under his name. Lauren Skidmore from the Open Door Network said, "The roadways are definitely an element, blah, 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 blah," the quote that I just read.
So what I heard you say, if I counted them right, you referred to Mr. Mays 5 or 6 times. And then you referred to something that Lauren Skidmore said that said, yep, that's where human traffickers do their work, is on the roads. Don't you think there's an implication there that Mr. Mays is a human trafficker?
No, not if that's a fact. That's a common journalism tactic, Terry.
Why?
To go to somebody in the field that you're talking about. I'm talking about Charlie Manson. So I go to John Miller, a WABC reporter in New York, who now works for CNN, and I get his thoughts, generally speaking, on such cases. And he talks generally about such cases. He's not going to talk about Charlie Manson. He's not going to talk about the girls or the beautiful woman celebrity that was murdered by Charlie Manson. He's just talking about murders in general. And she's just talking about human trafficking in general. And the fact of the matter is, roadways are one of the avenues, figuratively and literally, that human trafficking is perpetuated.
You're cherry picking it and you're taking it out of context.
No, I think you are doing that exact same
Did
thing.
she know, did Miss Skidmore know that they were interviewing her because they were talking about the Mays case?
And I think that's exactly why she tiptoed around without mentioning Mays or without mentioning a specific case.
I'll have to look at I'd have to look at the entire transcript, but I think it sounds to me like she knew they were talking about the Mays case and she was providing information that would support whatever the theory was about the Mays case. And that's improper. As for
But what if that's the fact in human trafficking?
It doesn't matter, Ralph.
So I can't interview a murder detective and ask him about murders in general?
If you're
I do that all the time. I did it throughout my career.
If you're talking,
if it's a murder about a child, I'm going to go talk to a detective who deals with child murders, and he's going to give me typical situations with child murderers.
But
is he damaging the prosecution's case?
If you talk about a specific murder case, and then you ask them, what do you think?
But how can you determine that she's specifically talking about Mays?
I don't know if she was or not, but
it
sounds to me like she was. The district attorney's office says that she was, and they say that the transcript supports that conclusion.
I think that's, as a former journalist who used to do this on the daily, go to somebody to speak about a specific case. In fact, you begin the conversation with that. Ms. Goldner, I know you're a county counsel and you can't specifically talk about the budget, but can you give me just a general thing, what happens when it's budget time?
And if
you would come on and you would tell me generally, well, Ralph, I can't talk specifically about the 2026 budget, but I can tell you how specifically we do it in general.
Okay. And if I were a deputy DA, or if I were the district attorney or an assistant DA, And I had a case pending in my office where someone hadn't gone to trial yet, and we were prosecuting it, and I was asked about it. Even on the periphery, I would say, the rules of professional conduct preclude me from discussing it at this time. Thank you very much. That's what I would have done.
And you really think they whacked her because of that, what she said in that case and the Mata case? Really?
I think that
You don't think family bias had anything to do with this?
Ralph, like I said, I think that she was put on notice back in September. She ignored it. She continued to talk about cases. I think they probably finally had enough. But that's just me.
Does she have a case for defamation?
No. No, absolutely not. The rules of professional conduct prohibit those kind of comments being said by someone who is affiliated with the prosecution team. They were right to tell her to not talk about it.
Then why say we found a better provider?
You'd have to ask them.
And we're going to find out if, in fact, they did.
Right.
Because I don't believe they did.
You might not find out about it within 10 days, but certainly within the
They've
next
got to
couple of
respond
weeks.
within 10 days, do they not?
No, all they
For
have
public records request?
All they have to do is say within, they have three things they can do. First, they have 10 days to say whether they're going to respond or not, or within those 10 days, they can continue it out for another 2 weeks to say whether they're going to respond or not. And then after that extension is done, then they have a reasonable time to produce the records that they've asked for.
So they're going to delay and delay and delay.
Well, they have the right
Because if they
to.
have nothing to delay, they come out immediately.
We'll see.
But they won't come out. It'll be months.
I hope they come out immediately.
But they won't. But they won't because they're wrong, in my opinion. That was outstanding. I appreciate you taking some extra time and staying with us.
My pleasure, Ralph.
Quick time out. We'll transfer. Got a lot of time before we get to the bottom of the hour. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. It's the Ralph Bailey Show. Don't go anywhere. You're wrong. Absolutely wrong. That was great. That was great. It's like two people texting. I know.
Look up in the
two people
sky.
called and said,
Yeah,
that
that's
was
what they
great.
cry. It's a bird. It's a plane. No,
I
it's
agree.
them. It's Paul Sheldon's team.
Well,
That
there's only
well-oiled
3 articles.
machine Of
I only read the
Christine,
one.
Kelly, and Lynn. Okay, not superpowers,
You want
but
me to
still
send you the 3
thousands
articles?
of hours deciphering Medicare's whims, fighting
You
the
send me
good
the text
fight,
messages. I didn't really
learning what
understand
works
the text
right.
messages.
Christine, Kelly, and Lynn. So it might seem old-fashioned, but hard work with passion most often gives you the win. And the trio that knows are those
Well, it's
Medicare
way out.
pros,
They have 2
Christine,
years subordinates to call her
Kelly,
those
and
names.
Lynn. You know, actually,
You
to
pretend you want
many,
anything to
they
do with it
are
because they don't have to get
superheroes.
reelected.
Christine, Kelly, and Lynn.
Unprofessional and
When
unethical.
Medicare matters, our team has
Have
the
you said anything
answers.
worse about somebody in
Team
a
Paul
community like ours?
398-2298.
Every Thursday at 4.
She said, and she was subject to their supervision. It is what it is.
I agree. She should have gone to the 2 meetings.
And she should have listened to what they said to do, which was stop running her mouth about these cases. And she ignored it. She wanted to do interviews. She wanted to talk to people.
I know you're making her sound like she's this big media whore that wants to be on TV. That's not Lauren.
I don't know her that well, but I just know that
I do. That's not her.
she didn't do what they asked her to do, what they instructed her to do. She ignored them. What does that say?
I think they brought that back after the fact. I really do.
Do you think, are you saying that you don't think that that September letter went out in September?
I think they were pissed about her role in the Scrivener thing in September of 25. And they wanted to create a jacket.
When she came in and talked to you about the Scrivener case,
Uh-huh,
last time, I was
uh-huh.
shocked.
Really?
Yeah, I was shocked that she would do that because she had a contract with them. That surprised me that she would do that. She needed to get a lawyer, I think.
What did she say anything funky?
Well, just she's talking about the Scrivener. She's representing Kathy Scrivener, a victim. She's talking about Zach, and he's being prosecuted. And she's got a contract in the county with the district attorney's office. That was not good.
Well,
That's not good. That was bad judgment on her part. I know she's a good person. I know all that. I think she just displayed really poor judgment. We'll put it that way in doing that, and super poor judgment in ignoring the district attorney's office request to stop talking while these cases are pending. It's either don't talk while the cases are pending, or cut your contract with the DA's office and you can say whatever you want.
right.
But it's interesting the way you and I talk about things, because you're looking at it from a public right to know First Amendment perspective
Mhm.
case, and I'm looking at it from a 14th Amendment due process case.
Right.
And so, but when you have those clashes in these cases, and that started back in 1969 with Shepard, guess which one always wins?
The Shepherd.
the due process for all these minutes. Even though it's unfair, the public has a right to know. They don't always have the right to know everything.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. So
Okay. That was great. Thank you. All right, we're back next Tuesday. Yeah, the tournament's Monday. Okay. Heading into the back half of the hour. I still got a few comments to make as we chew on this a little bit. And then we'll talk about Cuba. Power is beginning to return to the nation island. But you'll hear the president licking his chops, thinking that he can be what John Kennedy wanted to be. I'll explain after the break. And we'll talk about Joe Kent and his departure from the Trump administration, insisting this is an Israeli war in Iran. You're listening to the Ralph Bailey Show. I'd stick around if I you. Oh, that was good shit. We might have a 300 view night. Superstar. What's going on? You got green on? Where's your green? I don't know. Let me see. Okay, I'll get it. Yes.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 46 points, the Nasdaq rose 105, the S&P advanced 16. More details at SRNnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Chris Davis. The Pacific First ordinance in Delano was voted down last night 3-2 by the city council there. That was the ordinance that would have banned.
You got a phone call? You got a phone call? Oh, that's him. What's going on? Oh.
She was hit by a minivan whose driver stayed at the bottom. Police, they do not believe the driver was impaired. Gas this afternoon is at $5.53 on average in California for a gallon of regular, says Gaspa. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 at AM 1180 KERN. If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take him on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-780-3599. 800-780-3599. 800-780-3599.
Optima Tax Relief.
Visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look Forever, we talk a little medicine with our friend Dr. Goldner. John Cox from California will join us with the news quiz, preview more of the traffic nightmare that we're having over the weekend so that people can run 26 miles. It's all happening at 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1, streaming live on the internet at KernRadio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180.
You're listening to the Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
There you go. Little variety. We just celebrated 13 years here, coming off 9 years at Buckley Radio. So it's hard for any producer to come up with original music for my radio broadcast, but Chris is doing a nice job. And I'm going to start sending him more stuff. What did you guys think of the little comedy bit? Apparently, I subconsciously stole that from Jazz McKay. Mr. Burdick is telling me. But it's not like he invented it or I invented it, but I just, you got to understand my life. From about 9 to about 10:30, I'm just watching reels. That's all I do. Please stand by. Guess who? Sorry, I'm out of town with internet access only. I couldn't call. I'm seeking legal counsel, so I can't comment more about. You have the 3 pages of the attachments that were sent September 2025 letter. That doesn't make sense. And I've read 2 of the 3, and I just vehemently, I know I don't have a leg to stand on arguing legalities with the former Kern County Council and a former federal magistrate judge and special counsel to one of the finest law firms in town, Klein, Dean, Telly, and Goldner. But she's right. I'm a journalist. And I don't know if you could hear it because I turned it down. Oh, in fact, I forgot to turn it back up. I turned it down during the break because I actually wanted the audience to hear what Teresa and I were discussing during the break, because I don't curse in front of her and she doesn't curse. So there was nothing that we said that couldn't have been heard live. So I turned the thing down so that YouTube listeners could kind of eavesdrop on our conversation. And she said, look, you're coming at this as a journalist and I'm coming at this as a legal analyst. And she's right. Call it a hunch, call it a pattern of behavior, but it's been my experience when dealing with government officials that when they obfuscate or put forward a stand and then suddenly back off that and go in another direction, that's deceit. And again, I'll read this thing time and time again where they imply, oh, we're so happy with this new service provider we found. And the simple fact is it's better than Open Door Network. I'm paraphrasing. Okay, well, in a couple of months, because they're not going to respond within 10 days, Teresa just explained that to us. They have the ability to put this off, and good doggone well, they will. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll be willing, if they come back 8 days from now with a full report and can explain all this, I'll absolutely sit here and eat crow. But we won't hear about this for another month or 2. And they're going to have to explain who this new service provider is and when they contacted them, when they hired them, and how much are they paying. And we're going to compare the services that they provide and the Open Door Network provides. Because now the onus is on the district attorney's office. And if whoever they hire isn't up to standard with the Open Door Network, then we kind of know what really went down, don't we? And when we're able to look at the timeline of the communications between the Open Door Network, the emails, the memos, et cetera, and the alleged contact with this mysterious new provider that they won't chronicle, they won't tell us anything about. And at minimum, even if Teresa's right, there's got to be some level of transparency in the district attorney's office. And the reality is Cynthia Zimmer is more than just a lawyer. She's more than just the top cop. She's a politician. She is a politician. And if you're wondering why I am so sensitive to this case, I have other guests that I'm closer to than Lauren Skidmore. I have other guests that I've known for many more years than Lauren Skidmore. But this does touch a nerve, as I've talked about probably too often. I've been fired 4 different times in this community. Fortunately, for my own ego, 3 of the companies that fired me rehired me. So how bad could I have been an employee? You're going to fire a guy and then rehire him. Channel 23 rehired me. The Bakersfield Californian rehired me. And Buckley Radio rehired me. The only group that did not hire me is KBAK, and I wouldn't work for them for all the money in the world. But my point is, they fire you with dignity. They use the very term that Teresa used. We're not firing you, we're just not renewing your contract. So then, doesn't the question have to be asked, then why did the flunkies of Cynthia Zimmer come out with these poison pen letters, destroying or attempting to destroy a young woman's credibility in a community in which she was born and raised? Like, imagine if Channel 23, when they fired me, had said, we're leaving release of Ralph Bailey, who was unprofessional and unethical, and we just couldn't have him around any longer. I'd have never gotten a job with 29. Never. And I just think that that is piling on. I think it comes from a personal bent. I think there's a part anger in it, because I think Cynthia Zimmer is a brilliant woman, and people like Teresa don't really read the tea leaves. She finds it hard to believe that there's going to be a recall. There's going to be a recall. Will it be successful? I doubt it. I doubt it. But there'll be an attempt to remove Cynthia Zimmer as our district attorney. The whole thing stinks to high heaven. Why was she not fired? Why was not Skidmore fired back in September of 25? You're telling me that there was an agency, a group, and a head of a group that was putting prosecutions in case, putting prosecutions in jeopardy, and they were just sending her a letter? Hey, we almost lost this case. Knock it off. Really? Does anybody buy that? Other than Teresa Goldner? Just seems to me that if my profession, if what I was trying to do was being interrupted by anybody, I would have to get them out of the way. I wouldn't have waited until March. It's something that apparently started in September of 2025. I'm just questioning. 842-5376, 842-KERN. What's everybody saying about all this?
Let's see. This first one's not necessarily on this topic, but it is on something we've talked about a little bit. KGET's coverage of former CSUB assistant basketball coach Kevin Mays' prelim hearings states that Mays' roommate at the time of the search was the son of then CSUB head coach Rod Barnes. I wonder if this info had anything to do with his resignation.
I don't think the son had anything to do with the resignation. That athletic department is out of control, and how they still have the same athletic director is astonishing. And for the first time, I heard two reliable sources speak ill of Vernon Harper, the African-American president at CSUB, who all of this has occurred under his watch. I mean, they've got numerous problems going on in that athletic department involving the softball team. The tennis team went through some shenanigans, and now this thing where this guy, how they didn't know what was going on with this guy is beyond me. I mean, when you look at some of the evidence, the amounts of marijuana that was found in his home, and the trafficking, and the use of a CSUB vehicle, and just it's amazing. What else you got? Something dealing with the Skidmore thing.
I happen to agree with Terry. My first unbiased question was, is Skidmore in the wrong?
Well, I don't think so. Teresa obviously does. I think she made mistakes. I think she should have attended those two meetings. But it just seems the way they approach this and the manner in which they fired her for cause and went out of their way to humiliate her in front of this community seems bizarre to me, seems mean-spirited to me, seems unnecessary to me. Let's assume that Teresa's right and that she should have been fired. Do you really think that that's the manner in which she should have been let go? Like I said, I've been whacked 4 times, and I've never been treated like that. I told you the worst experience I ever received in getting fired was one of the guys watched me pack my stuff out of my office, which would have taken 5 minutes, and I purposely made it take 40 minutes. You know, look at me like I'm a thief. What else you got?
Sorry, Ralph, but Miss Goldner laid out exactly why this happened. You're treating her like a you're treating her a little poorly, seemingly because you're upset that Lauren made some mistakes and it looks bad. You were interrupting her and stepping over her and getting mad. It sounded a bit unprofessional. Just my 2
All right,
cents.
stop. I'm not interested in what you think of how I do my job. I'm really not. And I'm not interested in what you think my motivation is or how I treat my guests. Miss Goldner would not have stayed here if I was treating her poorly. She would not be my guest if she felt that I got emotionally involved in cases and that somehow skewed my judgment. I'm angry that a powerful woman went out of her way to humiliate somebody within their community. And if that were your daughter, or if it were you, and you were let go, okay, everybody gets fired. Nobody knows that better than I. Nobody knows that better than somebody in this industry. Everybody gets fired. Rush Limbaugh got fired 10 times. Howard Stern got fired 8 times. Everybody gets fired. But to put out a letter saying that you're unprofessional and unethical, you really thought that was in bounds? When they could have just walked away and said, we're ending the contract. They could have stayed with their original statement. We're so happy with our new provider. Yes, I'm angry. Not angry at Teresa Goldner. She knows that. And if you don't like the way I do my show, then don't listen. It's difficult to take criticisms of how I do my job when you're listening to me. What else you got?
Did Lauren have to sign anything regarding confidentiality when the open door was hired by the DA's office?
I doubt it. I don't think that, however, shields her from the rules of engagement. Now, she would put forward the 3 articles that she sent me, which I believe are absolutely generic or absolutely not specific to the cases. And as I was trying to explain to Teresa, this is basic journalism. When you can't get somebody to talk specifically about a case, you get somebody in the know to talk about the case in general. So if it's a human trafficking case, you get Odessa Perkins, a human trafficking victim, to talk generally about human trafficking. Now, you're telling me that as a journalist, if I went to Odessa Perkins on a human trafficking case and she spoke generally about human trafficking and what leads to human trafficking and what are the symptoms and what are some of the telltale signs, and some of those telltale signs are involved in a specific case, that somehow jeopardizes the case? To me, that's a bunch of nonsense. And if it were the case, if a gargantuan visible case like Genesis Mata was jeopardized by anybody in this community, don't you think the DA's office would have summarily fired him right then? Why wait till March? That's not a curious question for you all? Was there a bigger case than an 8-year-old being burned and stabbed and sexually abused and just tortured to death, where it made cops cry when they saw her body in this hotel right around the corner from where I'm sitting? Was there a bigger case than that? And yet you're telling me that the DA's office believes that Lauren Skidmore jeopardized that case, but they kept her on. They kept her on. She jeopardized one of the biggest murder cases that's come down the pike in the 32 years I've lived here, but they kept her on. But she went to Sacramento with Christina Scrivener, and suddenly she gets whacked. And if you're a regular listener of this program, you know what cliche I'm about to drop on you. Pop told me never to believe in coincidences. And you're expecting me to believe that she did the Mata case, they didn't whack her. She spoke up about the Mays case, they didn't whack her. Then she goes to Sacramento with Shannon Grove, and they whack her. And that's just a huge coincidence. It's just an okie dokie. Okay, well, you believe that. You go right ahead. Teresa clearly believes it. I don't. It's that simple. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we got more text messages. We can read them all the way up to the top of the hour. Then I got to take a quick turn, talk about the SAVE Act. There was a test vote today. It passed by a majority, almost strictly on party lines. Then I got a package coming out of KTLA. The Dodgers are somewhat changing the name. I was reading somebody in the chat room was saying, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be Dodger Stadium, and you're absolutely right. But I'm a little disappointed in Mark Walter and the Guggenheim Group. It would never be Yamamoto Field at Yankee Stadium. You know what I'm saying? It'd never be Tejon Ranch at Fenway Park. You know what I'm saying? John Deere at Wrigley Field. It's never going to happen. But I guess those organizations don't have the budget that we have. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Ain't going to stop me from rolling in, though, I'll tell you that. Quick time out. We're coming right back. It's TRBS on a Tuesday. Tomorrow, Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne from Adaptive Networks and Cheryl Scott from Bakersfield College tell us about last weekend's Sterling Silver dinner. In the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1180 KRN. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk.
Big Mike.
Sure.
Tune up the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show. Trump continues to pound Iran. Senior leadership losses are mounting. Will there be some change in this regime, or are we counting down the days until we declare mission accomplished? We'll discuss that. Plus, New York City spending an unbelievable amount on the homeless programs there. We'll discuss if there's a lot of fraud involved as well, coming up on Clay and Buck.
Live 9 to noon. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
If you're having a St. Patrick's Day party today and you did the cooking, you made the green cookies and the green mashed potatoes and the corned beef and the cabbage, etc., you made a mistake. You should have called Big Mike's Ragin' Barbecue. Mike Airy is one of the finest caterers in Kern County, and he goes to any type of event you may be having, whether it's a St. Patrick's Day party, a luncheon, a dinner, a wedding, any kind of celebration. I know graduation is coming up this summer in May. Think about it and call Big Mike's Ragin' Barbecue at 393-5507, 393-5507. I told you about Mike Airy, one of my best friends, Garces boy, who made it all the way to the National Football League, played for Bill Parcells and the New York Football Giants. And that discipline and hard work that he used to get to the show, he's used to make himself one of the best caterers in Kern County. Call him today at 393-5507, 393-5507. Big Mike's Ragin' Barbecue, and yes, they're still raging hot.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day. No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Carpet Outlet Plus installed over 1 million square feet of flooring last year alone. Over 20 years of Bakersfield's best flooring store means you can trust us with your hardwood, laminate, vinyl, and of course, carpet. Come in today to see over 100 waterproof floors from our in-stock inventory. It's probably been time to change your floors for a while, so call, click, or stop by today. Your free in-home estimate is waiting for you. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
So my friends over at Pure Talk have been sending me customer feedback from consumeraffairs.com, where thousands of people rate and review the top wireless providers. Here, for instance, is a nice note from James in Raleigh, North Carolina, who writes, quote, after hearing Mike Rowe's ad, we made the switch to Pure Talk, and we couldn't be happier. We went from spending $1,200 a year with T-Mobile to $420 with Pure Talk. Thanks, Mike. Switch today! Exclamation point. Pure Talk is saving James $820 a year. And because he literally wrote the words, switch today, in capital letters, with an exclamation point, I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this commercial to him. So, folks, take it from James in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pure Talk can give you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month on the same 5G service the big guys are overcharging you for. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. You'll also save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 to save an additional 50%. Thanks, James.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
842-5376, 842-KER. What else you got on the board?
Ralph, I've heard Lauren talk about cases on your very show, and she makes it a point not to discuss specific details or information she's privy to.
And I think the 3 articles that she's provided proves that. There was no mention of Mr. Mays. There was no mention of the trial. There was no mention of the case itself. She was strictly talking about human trafficking and the elements thereof. And if the leader of the Open Door Network can't provide information about human trafficking and domestic violence, then what good are they? Is Teresa Goldner trying to imply that while a case is going on, that experts that are involved in whatever crime that is committed can't discuss the situation in general? If that were the case, journalists would be completely shut out and would have no information on any type of murder case. The O.J. Simpson case being the classic example, where different experts were brought in to discuss the possibilities of this and that. What else you got on the board?
Let's see. I completely agree with this last caller, not the topic, but the way he keeps interrupting Teresa.
What else you got? I mean, this is how I do my show. And I get to ask the questions. I'm the host of the program. And most of the regulars that I've had for years, and some cases decades. And that is my style of interviewing. And if it's unpalatable to you, I suggest you listen to another program. But the only time that I was interrupting Teresa when I was trying to get her to answer a question, and I felt that she was circumventing and not answering my question. In fact, I think I said that. If you go back and watch it later tonight, you will hear me say, that's a great answer, but it does not answer my question. And I repeated the question. What else you got?
Teresa Goldner is my favorite guest. She is very knowledgeable and doesn't get too emotional. I'm sure she was an excellent judge.
She was, in fact, a great judge. And I even remember her as county counsel. I was covering the county at the time. But I completely disagree with her. But I understand how she's coming at this. She's coming at this from a legal perspective. And she's assuming that everything that the DA's office is saying is truthful. And that is a great blind faith to have. I, on the other hand, as a journalist, don't believe anything that the government tells me. Not a thing until it's absolutely proven. So until Ken Russell or this other Joseph, whatever his name is, or the DA can show me quotes that Lauren Skidmore made that put their cases in jeopardy, I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. That's the difference between Teresa and I. She believes the DA's office. I don't. I do not. And I'm not saying that they're lying. I think they're being disingenuous. I think they were upset with the relationship that they had with the Open Door Network. I can only give you my opinion on what the motivation for that displeasure was. Teresa believes it was because of Lauren's actions. I believe it was because of the side that Lauren took in the Zach Scrivener situation. It's that simple. And I think that they tried to do what I've seen other companies do, other leaders do, and that is you get to a point when you want to fire somebody, but you really don't have a case, do you? So you go back and you create a case. So I'm upset with Chris, and I go back and I cite something that he did in 2023. And I come up with a letter or a memo where I said, hey, Chris, pay attention to this. And I throw that in the jacket. And then I start to mount things. And then I say there's a final straw. And I don't, again, as I explained before the break, I just don't believe in coincidences. And if the Mata and Mays case was jeopardized by anyone, I would have thought that a professional would have cut strings right there. Why give this unprofessional, unethical woman a third strike? And the third strike being her going up to Sacramento. Because why the timing? Why now? Why now? If it wasn't the trip to Sacramento, why now? What has changed in the Mata case? Nothing's changed in the Mays case. He was just in court today. So why now? Why in March? Why not in September? Why not months ago? Why not at the height of the Mata case? And again, Teresa takes them at face value. Well, they just didn't, there was no explanation as to why from Teresa. Why in March as opposed to months ago at the height of the case? And I think it's pretty damn clear. It's like following Hansel and Gretel, that appearance to support legislation was the final straw. But that's just my opinion. We head into the final hour of the broadcast. I'd stick around if I were you.
This is AM 1180 KERN.
I've done no walking. I've done no drinking of water.
FM. Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
Haven't even taken my
Power from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The power outages and electricity problems continue in Cuba.
Cuba is going through its third island-wide blackout in 4 months. In Cuba, electricity is slowly being restored to hospitals and some homes. But officials warn the crumbling power network could fail again. In Havana, Dalva Obedo said the power outages are driving me crazy. Last night, I fell down a 27-step staircase. Now I have to have surgery on my jaw. I fell because the lights went out. After the U.S. ouster of Venezuela's leader, vital oil exports to Cuba have stopped. Ed Donahue, Washington.
The EU is moving ahead with an initiative to fix up a key oil pipeline in Eastern Europe.
EU officials say they've offered money and technical help to Ukraine to fix a key oil pipeline in Central Europe, which supplies both Hungary and Slovakia with Russian oil. The officials hope that they'll persuade Hungary to drop its veto on major aid to Ukraine. European Commission spokeswoman Paula Pinio says an expert is available to go to Ukraine now.
Things are happening as we speak, indeed, to make sure that we can, that all the necessary work is done in terms of reparation, in terms of restoration of the pipeline so that oil supplies are eventually resumed.
I'm Charles Diladesma.
Israel killed 2 senior Iranian security officials in a major blow to the country's leadership. Iran, which confirmed both killings, renewed its attacks Wednesday on its Gulf neighbors in Israel. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 46 points, the Nasdaq rose 105, the S&P advanced 16. More at townhall.com.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds, and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. But Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So, yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you got to call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds, too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085, 800-555-2085, or biglou.com.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
A woman hit while crossing a Bakersfield street. I'm Chris Davis. Police say that woman is dead. Her name has not been released, but they have given information on the circumstances. They say the woman was crossing at 4th NP on an electric scooter on the crosswalk when she was hit by a Honda minivan. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the van stayed and gave a statement to police, and they do not believe that driver was drunk or on drugs. Crime in February in Bakersfield was down overall, with fewer 911 calls and fewer robberies, according to crime statistics released this week. by Bakersfield PD. There were 2 homicides in February, 81 aggravated assaults, and 40 robberies. There were also 145 car thefts. The number of homicides was the same for January and February. If you've been following the story in Delano about the ordinance that was proposed by the mayor to keep ICE away from private city-owned property or conducting immigration enforcement there, that was voted down at last night's city council meeting, reports KGET. The final vote was 3-2, with Mayor Salvador Solorio Ruiz and 1 council member voting in favor. More than half of the people who showed up to speak on the ordinance were in favor of it. The murder trial for 23-year-old Michael Mendez has been set for April 27th. He's the man accused in the August 24th, 2024 shooting death of 34-year-old Xavier Lopez, whose body was found on East Perkins in the street after he had been shot several times, say police and prosecutors. Mendez is charged with murder, discharging a firearm from a vehicle, and possessing a firearm as a felon. Gas in California this afternoon, $5.53 on average, says Gas Buddy. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think this is, the army where you shoot them a mile away? You got to get up close like this. Bing! You blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Tuesday, 17th day of March. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. I don't think you can see, but yes, I am adorned in my lime green.
Lime green is probably closer than Kelly green. Because Kelly green, I hear, is more of what Garces has.
Oh, yeah? A darker green?
Yeah. Blue Teresa was right on that one.
Green is not a very flattering color on me. Excuse me.
Honestly, I'm just going to go with Grinch green because it's the first thing I think of when I see that color.
Yeah. Well, I bought these for the tournament last year.
Yep.
And lost a little tonnage. Well, not a lot, but a little tonnage. There's a little space in there. Because all I remember last year is I was squeezing them on. Because it buttons. The thing, it's not like most shorts have a clasp. You know what I'm saying? Like a clasp where you hook it. But these shorts have a button. See that? Or buttons right there. And so last year I was like,
I think the majority of my shorts have buttons.
yeah?
Yeah. Wasp I see more on like dress pants.
My golf shorts have clasps on them, yeah. My grays, the only ones I use.
Maybe just go.
That I'm about to get rid of.
Are you really?
Yes. I have a tiny little hole in the right-hand pocket. A tiny little hole. I mean, a tiny, tiny little hole. And what happens when I play golf?
Phone falls out?
My tees go through the hole.
That would be the next one.
I'm like, damn, I thought I had 3 tees.
Wait, it's big enough for a tee to go through?
Yes. But not big enough for anything else.
Yeah.
The only tee that it can't get through is the tee that Mr. Turnipseed gave me. And it's like a big cupped tee.
Oh, gotcha.
It's not like the regular tee where it's just straight up and it's got like a little resting spot.
Right.
It's got like a cup. And I don't use that. I always take it with me just in case. Because I'm swinging so badly at times. I'm breaking plastic tees. That's when you know. You watch pros, the tee doesn't even hardly move. And sometimes it'll pop up and fly, but I'm breaking plastic tees. But Zucchini told me he doesn't like it because it makes the ball sit down, and he thinks that takes away from distance. I was like, that little cup thing can't do that. There are a couple of things I want to comment on in the last hour of the broadcast. There's one thing that is clear. Teresa Goldner is a beloved figure on this broadcast, and we always knew that. And yet there's still a divide because some people in the chat room agreed with her, some did not. But let's understand how I do this radio broadcast, shall we? And this is going to sound as narcissistic and as arrogant as it is, but this is the genre in which you've chosen to listen to. And this is my show. So I get to dominate the conversation. I get to dominate the direction of the conversation. And when I want to speak, I get to speak. That's just the way it is. As narcissistic and as arrogant and as just ugly as that sounds, that's just the way the show goes. And if the show doesn't go like that, it spirals out of control and you hear nothing but guests talking over me. I don't talk over anybody. I stop them and let them know that I'm about to speak because this is the Ralph Bailey Show. And when you all have a show, you can determine any way you want to do it. But I've been doing it now for 22 years, and it's working out pretty good. So I'm going to continue to do what I do. In the meantime, we got a few minutes before we get to the 15 break. What do you got on the board?
Let's see. A famous line in the movie Training Day is, "It's not what you know, it's what you can prove." Kind of applies to this Skidmore DA situation.
Yes, it does. And I don't think they can prove their case. I don't think they can provide attribution, which is what I'm all about as a former journalist. I don't think they can provide, okay, let's talk about it in the legal sense. I don't think they can provide evidence that would indicate that Lauren Skidmore has ever said anything that has jeopardized any case that they've ever had. They can characterize her statements, they can make allusions, but I've read the 3 articles that she was sent, and it's as generic as it gets, where she does not discuss the specific case, but she talks about cases in general. As the executive director of the Open Door Network, that is what she does. And she purposely, at least in my dealings with her, has tiptoed around discussing specific cases for that very reason. And again, the bottom line is to go out in public and call somebody unprofessional and unethical is an attempt to destroy their careers. Would you not agree with that? Would you not agree with that? To have the top cop in your community, the district attorney in your city, to label you, I'm talking to you, each one of you. They want to get rid of the contract, they want to get rid of you, they're not happy with you, that's one thing. But imagine if it was you and the top law enforcement of Kern County called you unprofessional and unethical. How are you supposed to get a job? How are you supposed to go to the grocery store? When people are like, that's the girl that Cynthia Zimmer says is professional. Well, they could have just let it go. We got a new provider, we're really happy, see you later, good night. But they didn't. Well, Cynthia didn't. She had her numbskulls, Russell and Joseph, whatever. Just Joe K, we'll call him, because I keep forgetting his damn last name. But we will remember these people because they are politicians. And in politics, perception is everything. And the timing of this thing stinks to high heaven. The fact that it's a coincidence that she goes to Sacramento, Skidmore, and is seen with Christina, the estranged wife of a human being that shamed his family and destroyed their political dominance in this community. I'd be mad too. I'd be mad at Mr. Scrivener, but that's just me. What else you got?
If you follow Zimmer's circle, there are 2 options for a new provider: Bakersfield Recovery Services or a Centric Health provider. But nothing is going to happen. Zimmer is the top person.
Well, the Centric Health provider, I know, let me be quiet. There's some things I know that I don't want to discuss right now, but we will see what happens. And the alacrity in which they provide information is going to tell a big story. Because I think they're going to delay and delay and delay and delay. There's no way in hell they're going to respond to KGET within the next 8, 9, 10 days. No way in the world. No way in the world. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll sit here and eat crow right in front of y'all if I'm wrong about this. I just don't think I am. And it's a journalistic hunch. And it's a pattern of behavior where the left hand says something and then the right hand has to say something the very next day. And that is the first indication of deceit and disingenuousness. When you come out with a happy press release,
We found a new provider, y'all. And then you come out and you say, well, we had to get rid of the other one, not because we found a better one, but because this one was so bad. Just seems odd to me. If it doesn't to you, maybe we have different antennas, but it seems mighty peculiar to me that the top cop of this town would allow anyone to jeopardize their cases and keep them on. I mean, it's actually comical. It's actually comical that y'all believe that Lauren Skidmore put the Mata case in jeopardy and she was not summarily fired. That is comical. But they waited until March. They had a problem with the Mata case, they had a problem with the Mays case, but they waited until March to get rid of her. Yeah. I'm lying. That makes absolutely no sense. That's like me getting whacked today for something that I said back in December of 2025. Well, we went back and listened to the tapes, Ralph, and you said this back in December of 2025, so we're firing you. And then them not providing quotes from what I said. Just simply putting it out there, what Mr. Bailey said was contrary to the beliefs of American General Media. Well, no, that's every day. What Mr. Bailey said compromised the character of American General Media back in December of 2025. And on this date, March the 17th, we're letting him go. We're not going to tell you what he said. We're going to provide you quotes. But just in general, what Mr. Bailey said, he compromised the character of AGM. He's got to let him go 3 months later. Okay. One more, and let's take a break. I got to get into the Dodgers and the Sayback.
Teresa is my absolute favorite of all of your guests, but wow, she can't be unbiased with regards to her friend in the district attorney's office. To me, that is out of her character.
Well, I don't know if she has a close relationship with Cynthia Zimmer. In fact, I don't believe she does. If there's a bias, there is a bias because she was once part of the county government. She was former county counsel, and she looks at this strictly as a legal analyst. And as I've conceded, Lauren Skidmore blew off 2 meetings that she probably should have attended. If you have a 7-figure contract with, I don't give a damn who it is, you probably show up when they ask you to show up. That was a mistake. And let's assume that it was a mistake enough to be let go. Okay. But again, the looming questions are the timeline and the fact that they went out of their way to destroy her character in her home community. I mean, imagine, I just can't believe that anybody could defend this. I really don't. A lot of people get fired, but people don't get publicly humiliated in their community. And it just, if nothing else, it just wasn't necessary. It just wasn't necessary. People get fired, people get new jobs, people move on, relationships end, they fray. I get it. But you don't have to pile on. You know, everybody gets, Kristi Noem got a soft landing, and she's about to be charged with perjury. But to go out of your way and have 2 of your flunkies, 2 of your deputy DAs go after this woman, it's just not necessary. It's just not necessary. And it's beneath Cynthia Zimmer. It's beneath the office of the district attorney. And the contract to move on. Let it go. Put it in your rearview mirror. Why destroy her reputation? That's the question. Why? Why? And in my conclusion, the only one I can come up with is a familial bias. Wouldn't you be angry if your political career was upended by your knucklehead idiot, some would believe pedophile nephew? Some would believe, I'm not saying that. He was not charged with a sexual charge. But some in this community believe that Zach Scrivener is a pedophile. And the worst kind of pedophile, the pedophile that would create such crime on their family. A lot of people in this community believe that. And that is going to hang around the neck of that whole family for as long as they live here. Because they defended this man. They did everything they could to make sure he did not go to jail. They spent enormous amounts of money on the best attorney in this town, if you ask me, Humberto Sala. His mother went out of her way to shield the children from telling the truth, which is a crime, according to the sheriff. And I don't think either one of them will ever be elected anything in this community ever again. That's just my take, but what the hell do I know? Leave us go. Leave us go. Leave us go. The SAVE Act got through a test vote today in the Senate, but it's not going to get 60 votes and get to the House. But I'll break down what's in it and what problems I have with it. Got a package out of KTLA, Channel 5 in Los Angeles, who just let go a bunch of people. Let go Mark Kriske, remember him? The long time weatherman. I grew up on Channel 5. What was the Hal Fishman? Is that his name? Longtime anchor at KTLA. Was a pilot. Really good guy. I met him once at it was some kind of social event. I was working at Coast Media Newspapers and got invited. All I remember is, man, that tube doesn't look bad on television, but in person, good googly moogly. Hal, you got a freaking raccoon on your head. But on TV, you never knew. But in person, it was like, whoo. Can you say carpeteria? Oh, you guys don't have carpeteria up here, do you? There's a rug manufacturing company in Los Angeles that a classmate of mine, Rocky Hasurgian, his dad owned it. And it was a big genie. It was called Carpeteria. And the logo is like this big genie. Why a genie? For Carpeteria. Exactly. I didn't think you'd get that. But yeah, that's exactly why. Rocky Hasurgian, who's a little cat, who was a good slot receiver on our football team. And his dad had more money than God. Quick time out. We're coming right back. It's TLBS. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KRN. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Wednesday's Armstrong and Getty Show. We'll have all the news, like serious news. How are we going to open the Strait of Hormuz? How about romantic news? Punch the Monkey has a girlfriend. This is good.
Plus, the left media really celebrating the counterterrorism official who's resigning over the Iran war. Who is this character? Where did he come from? What does he think? We'll bring you the truth. That's what we do on the Armstrong and Getty Show.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
You know, oddly, one of the things that I rarely talk about when I talk about Casey's Steakhouse is lunch. If you work downtown, if you work for the county or where.
That's on me. I forgot to tell you, to be honest with you. And then Anthony just called. You know it's Gino's birthday, right?
I do. We're going to call him at 5:40.
Okay, do you have his number?
Yeah.
Okay. Might need to get it from you. Let me double check.
Mostly a lot of large groups that come to Casey's Steakhouse. And not everybody's feeling red meat to celebrate someone's birthday or an anniversary or whatever the event may be. And that's why Chef Daniel has advanced the menu. So there is Italian food. I love the fettuccine Alfredo with chicken. The lobster mac and cheese is everybody's favorite. The fish dishes, the mahi-mahi, the swordfish, the halibut. Where would you rather be than on F Street? And don't forget about the Stockyard next door. Meetings, banquets, or just having dinner and having some of the craft cocktails that are served next door. It's Casey's Steakhouse, longtime sponsors of the Ralph Bailey Show.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here for King Door Company. I had my garage door installed over 20 years ago and it still works like the day it was installed. So I know all about King Door's quality products. But let's talk service. At King Door Company, it's an obsession. Whether you're having your garage door installed, serviced, or repaired, you can count on King Door Company to do it right. And it all starts with training. All King Door techs have been through the King Door Academy, an on-site training center where technicians study the very latest in garage door technology so that when they show up at your house, they have all the experience and product knowledge they need to take care of your garage door. They really are the state of the art. And when you pair that expertise with King Door's legendary customer service, you get a service experience that can't be beat. So whether you need a new garage door or just service on an existing door, regardless of who built or installed it, count on the pros at King Door to do the job right. Just call 397-2744 or check them out online at kingdoor.com. King Door Company, the company with the pride of a lion.
Let me paint you a picture. It's midnight. Sirens blare. You have only seconds to grab your child and run. Now imagine you're elderly. Getting downstairs feels impossible. And after all of that, you end up in a bomb shelter for hours, even days, because you can't make that trek again. This is what's happening across Israel as Operation Epic Fury continues. Children are being traumatized. Families are exhausted. Homes have been destroyed. That's why the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is there, on the ground, bringing food, emergency equipment, care for children, and help for the elderly, and supplying bomb shelters and medical centers with critically needed essentials. If you've ever wondered what it looks like to stand for Israel and stand for good against evil, this is it. Now, please act. Give $45 right now to rush life-saving essentials to the vulnerable under fire. Text the word SIREN to 91999 to make your donation. That's the word SIREN to 91999.
The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
You know that she's some kind of wonderful, yes she is. Some kind of wonderful. I missed it. Some kind of wonderful, yeah. Great song. So he gets on his feet right here. Except just a little bit. Wait till the fellas join in. Cause my baby, she's alright. And my baby, she's clean out of sight. Don't you know that she's some kind of wonderful? Yes, she is. She's some kind of wonderful. I keep missing that. She's some kind of wonderful. Yeah. 842-537-6842 KERN. So again, the test vote in the Senate passed by a simple majority, which we're going to see once the Democrats get involved and they get rid of the filibuster. But it's not going to get the 60 votes needed. It was on almost a strictly partisan basis with Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, the lone Republican, to vote against the SAVE Act, which I have a problem with. I, like the overwhelming majority of Americans, both Democratic and Republican, believe that there should be voter ID. No question about it. And if they just stuck with that, it would fly through with flying colors. But to throw in that you need an ID showing citizenship, you need a passport or a military ID with proof of U.S. birth, government issue IDs that can prove U.S. birth, government issues with the birth certificate proof of citizenship with birth or naturalization papers, that I have a problem with. Because I don't think that non-citizens are getting licenses. Is that a fair statement? Are illegal aliens getting driver's licenses?
That I could not tell you yes or no, but I have
Did the
heard
trucker
stories.
that got prosecuted for hitting that family, did he have a valid driver's license? He must have.
Yeah, he must have.
So maybe there is a need for the citizenship. I just think, I had to get my birth certificate. Why did I have to get my birth certificate? Oh, I was trying to get the real ID. That's why I needed my birth certificate. And it was a bit of a hassle. But this condescending approach to African Americans or low income folk, they somehow don't have. So basically, what they're saying, Democrats, is that black folks and poor people don't fly. Everybody flies at some point in your life. How many people have you met that have never flown in their lives, that are 50 years old and can say, I've never flown on a plane? Maybe in this community, there are a handful because it's Bakersfield. But you go to Los Angeles, a city of about 8-9 million, and I bet you'd be hard-pressed to find 50,000 people that have never flown. I bet you find people that have had to put together an ID to buy liquor or to buy a gun. Hell, Democrats have to show ID this in San Francisco for the Democratic Convention. They didn't give a damn if you were Eric Swalwell or Katie Porter. You had to show an ID or you weren't getting in. You could have said, I'm leading the pack. I got 17% of the vote in California. I don't give a damn if you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. I need to see an ID. And yet for poor blacks and Latinos, they somehow can't come up with it. Last half hour of the broadcast, I'd stick around if I you.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With us on the news, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Israel killed 2 senior Iranian security officials in a major blow to the Islamic Republic's leadership as it faces its greatest test in decades. And Iran responded Wednesday with renewed missile and drone attacks on its Gulf Arab neighbors and Israel. A rare March heat wave is pushing San Francisco close to 90 degrees and setting records across the West. People were packing into sunny spots on Tuesday as the city sees its hottest March in at least 2 decades. The unusual weather is part of a winter heat wave baking the U.S. West this week. Phoenix is expected to top 100 degrees, something it usually doesn't do until early May. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 46 points. The NASDAQ rose 105. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
She was crossing on a crosswalk at 4th and P just after midnight, say Bakersfield police. That woman was hit by a minivan and killed. Her name has not yet been made public. Officers say the driver of the minivan gave them a statement, and they do not believe that person was impaired. The Community First ordinance that would have banned ICE agents from private city-owned property in Delano was voted down at last night's city council meeting. That ordinance had been proposed by the mayor. A trial date of April 27th has been set for 23-year-old Michael Mendez, accused in the August 24th, 2024 killing of Xavier Lopez, whose body was found in the street on East Perkins in McFarland. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Look, folks, when it comes to IT support, not all companies are the same. Many make big promises, but very few have the depth of talent, advanced systems, and proven solutions that Grapevine MSP brings to the table. At Grapevine MSP, they don't just fix problems, they prevent them. Their fully managed IT services keep your systems running smoothly and securely 24/7. So when something happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to be stuck trying to reach your provider. Grapevine MSP's local team is already on it with advanced network monitoring. They generally catch the issue before you even notice, and they're calling you to say that it's already been handled. Their dedicated cybersecurity team protects you daily from evolving threats, while their industry-leading backup and disaster recovery keep your business online even in a crisis. All this for one simple, transparent monthly rate. Call 661-377-2992 or visit grapevinemsp.com to schedule your free network evaluation today. Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
Are you serious right now? You certainly don't go by first lady. You choose first partner.
No.
You're going to talk to us
I'm just saying.
about protecting women. You want to talk about
Yosh ain't
protecting
throwing.
women? Let's
Shohei
start
ain't
with our
throwing.
girls right here in the state
Roki's
of
not
California
throwing.
and protecting them in
Let's
sports.
get into
You want
the
to
goddamn
ask
season.
questions about women and protecting women? How about
No, they got a
that?
great
Weekdays at 2 p.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Yeah.
The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9
Who's
to
our
noon.
starter?
Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News
Where's
Talk
Steve?
96.1.
Give their name, although I'm reading prior text messages and they're kind of funny. This person writes, "Hi Ralph, I hope you are well. Is there a way to leave an anonymous message on your show? I have a friend who has some info on a topic you're currently discussing, and she does not want to be identified." Well, certainly. She could text into the show at 842-5376, or you could give her my Facebook address or my email address, which is, what is my email address, Chris? Ralph Bailey, like the liquor, Bailey, Ralph Bailey at kernradio.com. I'd be happy to read it anonymously. And that's another thing, and I don't mean to, well, I do mean, we can talk about one topic all day, as far as I'm concerned. But there's another factor in this that I did not bring up with Teresa Goldner because she could not respond to it, and that is the three sources that I have that say that all hell's broken loose in the DA's office, that a pending suit is involving one of the chiefs at the DA's office, that there have been cries of discrimination and hostile work environment at the DA's office. And I think when you take that all in totality, and a massive turnover, according to all three of my sources, and we've discovered that, in fact, Cynthia Zimmer will be up for re-election in 2028. And as I have said, it will definitely be one of the DAs that tries to take her out. The last time we had one of those situations with Scott Spielman. And I think that's when dividing lines started to form. Because that's a tough, tough position to be in, to basically want to go after your boss's job. And that puts the community in a difficult position, because if you were a Spielman guy, then you're an anti-Cynthia Zimmer guy. And if you were a Spielman guy, Spielman better win. It's like the old cliche, if you go after the king, you better get him. Because if you don't, well, ask yourself, is Scott Spielman still with the DA's office? No, he is not. Now, I'm not saying he was ran off. I'm sure it was as uncomfortable for him as it was for everybody else. But I think there's more to this than we all know. And I think it's unfortunate that this thing has happened, and that at the foundation of this entire thing is a despicable crime that went unpunished. At the end of the day, that's why Cynthia has no future. That's why Zach's mother has no future, because the perception in this community is they ran defense for a man who this community believes should have been charged with pedophilia. That's the bottom line. And as we've learned through this whole Epstein case, there are some things that people will tolerate, and there are some things that they just never, ever, 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 ever will. And when you combine defending what the community believes is a man who got away with a heinous crime, is there any more heinous crime than committing a crime on your own child? I think that's more despicable than your wife. I've never had children, but I have nephews. I have 3 nephews who are a part of me. Maybe not my youngest nephew, because I wasn't as involved in his life as I was with Christopher and Clayton. But there's no question that an imprint of Ralph Bailey Jr. is on my 2 oldest nephews. And I'm hoping that I'm presenting some kind of imprint on my youngest nephew. What kind of imprint does Zach Scrivener have on his children? How will they remember good old dad? Waving a gun around in a drug-induced state after getting out of bed with their daughter, or with their sister, excuse me. That's the legacy Mr. Scrivener has left for his 4 children for the rest of their born days. And anyone in bed with Mr. Scrivener, figuratively speaking, or anyone perceived to run protection for such a despicable human being is likely going to catch shrapnel, collateral damage. And then to add on top of that, to go after somebody with an impeccable record in the wake of her trying to provide legislation that will tighten up and not allow the top cop's nephew to get away with something that he got away with, to then fire that person perceptionally is a gargantuan mistake on Cynthia Zimmer's case and situation. And I think it's, there may not be a recall. I could be completely wrong about that. But whomever runs against her in 2028 has my full endorsement. Despite the fact that I think that Cynthia Zimmer is a superior district attorney. Even if I'm wrong, and they fired Lauren Skidmore on the merits, to pile on after the fact and damage her reputation in the community in which she was born and raised is unacceptable for me. And you can ask Lauren Skidmore. We don't have this long, tremendous relationship. I've known her for a long time. She comes on the program, but never had dinner with her. I've never had lunch with her. Can't remember I've been into an event with her. Never been to her home. She's certainly never been to my home. This isn't something like a Mike Arier, who's a sponsor and one of my dearest friends. This isn't a case of somebody who is close to me. This is just an injustice. This is wrong, what happened to her. And I think if you're a loyal listener to this program, you know that I tend to defend people who have been wronged, particularly when they've been wronged by powerful people. And I completely understand that there is a divide on this question and that many of you totally disagree with me. I totally understand that. But I think we're all in agreement that Zach Scrivener is a poor excuse of a man who has destroyed 5 lives, the 4 children and Christina's, and his mother. His mother's never going to get elected back on that trustee board. And yet they defended this man. And that will forever haunt them, in my modest opinion. Meantime, as I mentioned, the Dodgers are talking about renaming their field, which is just absolutely just abhorrent to me. Here is a package from KTLA in regards to the new field and the naming of such. Please stand by. I pray to God that this is it. No, it's not.
I think you sent me this one. Hold
Oh,
on.
did I? Look, it's a picture of a young lady, a female reporter at KTLA. I do know that much, but I didn't think I sent it to you.
This is historic. Dodger Stadium is an iconic venue, and any talk of renaming it in any way is a big deal. But this particular deal would only affect the field, not the stadium itself. Dodger Stadium could soon have a new name attached to it. According to reporting from The Athletic, sources close to the team say there's a deal to sell the naming rights to the field to a Japanese fashion company called Uniqlo.
They already have at the stadium some marketing sponsorship by Japanese companies like a tire company. So this is a little bigger because I think the first time in their history they've had any corporate sponsorship to the facility itself.
For the first time, indeed. In the ballpark's 64-year history, there has never been a field sponsorship.
Never. And this is disturbing, but it's the nature of 21st century. It's all about business. It's all about money. And I'm younger than Dodger Stadium. I thought we were both born in August of 62. She says they're 64. I'm not 64. I'm not even close to 64. Well, but I thought I was actually as old as Dodger Stadium. We were born the same summer. Let's just say that. Who do you think looks better? It's going to take our final break of the night. Keep it locked. Scott Jennings coming up at the top of the hour. Tomorrow, the Van Alstynes, Jennifer and Ryan, owner-operators of Adaptive Networks, will join us. Our IT company should be yours. Call them today at 661-241-0638. We're going to meet Cheryl Scott from Bakersfield College. She's going to tell us about last weekend's Sterling dinner. Silver Sterling dinner. Sterling Silver dinner. There was a dinner. Cheryl Scott's going to tell us all about it. Silver Sterling. Or Sterling Silver. No, Sterling Silver. Which was the name of Tonto's horse. Or no, it was the Lone Ranger's horse. Hence the phrase, Hi-Ho Silver. Forget it. Final time out of the night. Keep it locked. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KRN. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with our friend Dr. Vic Dev. John Cox from the Californian will join us with a news quiz. Preview more of the traffic nightmare that we're having over the weekend so that people can run 26 miles. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1, streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Last week, there was the Paul Sheldon sighting. Kind of rare and very exciting. Everyone asked.
Whenever you're ready.
Ready? 3, 2. Let's say I'm wrong and Teresa Goldner's right. And the DA's office had every right and every reason to get rid of the contract with the Open Door Network, thus firing Lauren Skidmore. Then why pile on?
Why ruin somebody's reputation by calling them unprofessional and unethical in a community in which she was born and raised and has lived her entire life? Even if I'm wrong, that's a cheap shot that is well beneath the top cop of Kern County. 3, 2, it's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Wednesday TRBS. Well, it's a Wednesday. Howard Marcus will join us, plus owner-operators of Adaptive Networks, Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, and Cheryl Scott from Bakersfield College. All that and me at 3. It's TRBS, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. I'll see you at 3.
$99. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Your business moves fast. Your bank should keep up. At Valley Strong Credit Union, business banking is built for momentum with tools that help you manage cash flow, streamline payments, and fuel growth. Right now, there's never been a better time to switch. Open a new Valley Strong business account and get 3 months of business banking products and services free, up to $750 in value to power your next big move. Because when your business runs stronger, the whole Valley does too. Valley Strong Credit Union. Grow your business, grow your future at valleystrong.com/business.
Trucordia, a new name but a trusted partner for Kern County businesses. At Trucordia, we provide business solutions that include comprehensive commercial insurance and proactive risk strategies to help protect your company and keep operations running smoothly. We also offer benefit solutions with flexible options for both businesses and individuals, supported by easy online tools and hands-on local service that makes everything simpler. For guidance you can count on, call Don Coons at 661-401-2280. Trucordia, building trust.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Another good song. Now you're cooking. You show me the way every day. I want you. Show me the way. All right, we gotta make a phone call. Real quick. Put it on the air, Chris. We're wishing one of our dear friends a very happy birthday on this St. Patrick's Day. Buzz, 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 buzz. By now, he's recognized the phone number, I'm sure. It might be 3 sheets to the wind, but nevertheless.
Your call has been
Oh. Try one more time. I don't give a damn. One more time. It's Gino Valprado's birthday. Owner, operator, Casey Steakhouse. Little jokey joke. Luigi's Restaurant and Old World Delicatessen. I got $10 as he picks up. Apparently, that's $10 I'm light.
Your call has been
Yeah, all right. Well, we tried. That's too bad.
0 for 2 this year on birthday calls.
I know. That's too bad. I wanted to reminisce because this is the day that I met Miss Collins. And it's a funny story. We were at Luigi's having lunch and partying with Mr. Valprado. In fact, I did a ski shot. Have you ever done a ski shot at Luigi's?
I think I have.
Where they have shots mounted on a ski.
Oh, where everybody has
and
to take
5
it together.
people
Yes.
take it
Okay.
together. I did that with Mr. Valprado and some of his friends. And for some reason, which just goes to show you what a difference 5 or 6 years make, I don't think this could ever happen again. But the entire Valprado family followed Gino and me and Mike Arier and some other people to the Silver Fox. I know.
Wow.
Told you, the matriarch of the family, because she's the punchline in the whole story. So we walk in, and beautiful Carla Collins is sitting there, a 5'9", beautiful, buxom black woman who I was smitten with literally the minute I walked in the door. And I turned to Gino and I said, I'm going to marry that woman. And he looked at me like I was a freaking Martian.
And I started talking with her. And in fact, I got the digits, as we old people like to say, and we dated for 2 years. Broke up on an infamous Las Vegas trip, then dated for another like year and a half. And it was clear it wasn't going anywhere. But the punchline of the story is allegedly Tonya, the lovely mother who we all adore. If you bumped into Tonya, you adore this woman. Apparently, she turned to Gino and said, I didn't know Ralph was into black women. That ain't funny, Burdick. That ain't funny.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
That is not funny.
That's pretty funny.
You know the first white girl I ever truly dated? Like Connie Tasoulis and Stacy Wagner don't count in high school since I didn't get past second base with either one of them.
True.
Talking like I'm in sixth grade. So the first Caucasian woman that I ever dated, I just ran into a couple of weeks ago at Roosters, as a matter of fact, and she absolutely pretended like she didn't know me. But that was the first at Cal State Bakersfield. The story that I told, that David Couch's first wife, Holly Arnold, introduced us. I was shy, believe it or not, at 31 years old, and had never dated seriously anyone of the Caucasian persuasion. Because remember, I'm living in Inglewood the 4 years before I moved to Bakersfield. I'm living in a black community, working for a black newspaper, going to black clubs. It wasn't like I was averse to going out with white women and I came to Bakersfield and suddenly had an epiphany. Just everywhere I went, there were black people in Los Angeles. And then when I came here, everywhere I went, there were white girls and Latinos. And that's generally what I have dated in my time here. But the first one was at Cal State in 1992. But that was the day I met her, on Gino's birthday, March 17th. A date that will live in infamy as far as I'm kidding. Let's read a couple of text messages and I'm going to go home and watch baseball and eat my chicken marsala. I went home and went to Bill Lee's last night with Rusty. So I didn't get a chance to eat my chicken marsala. And now I'm not feeling it. I don't know why. Just not feeling it. I bought it from Bonnie's Best. It came in a little container. All I got to do is warm it up. For some reason, I was all excited last night. But I had the Kung Pao chicken at Bill Lee's, which is just one of my favorites. Had it for breakfast, man. Well, what do you got?
Zimmer's little sister syndrome is contagious.
Zimmer's little sister syndrome is contagious. Can you decipher that?
I honestly have never heard the term little sister syndrome in my life.
I believe Kathy Scrivener is the older of the two. I could be mistaken. I don't think Cynthia Zimmer has a younger sister, but I could be mistaken. What else you got?
Let's see. Ralph, they had Carpinteria in Las Vegas too with the genie.
Yeah, Caleb sent me a picture of the genie. Rocky Asurgian. Go look it up. The Asurgian family owned that. Rocky Asurgian. He was a great soccer player. And we always questioned why he wasn't our field goal kicker. Peter May was. But Rocky was a little guy, but he was spunky. He was what the little slot receivers for the New England Patriots? Wes Welker and the other one. And he was that kind of receiver. He was our slot guy. He was a pretty good athlete for a guy that was like 5'8", 5'9". That's why we played 8-man football. You can go screw yourself. What else you got?
This text just says, yes, California has issued actual regular standard driver's licenses to non-citizens for years.
That's crazy. And one reason Gavin Newsom will never, ever be president of the United States. We can only pray and hope that he's the 28th nominee. But Rudy Salas could beat him in an election. And that's saying volumes. Rudy the Patootie, who rumor has it might be appointed to the Board of Supervisors, which would be a tragic day in Kern County history. One more, I got enough gas to drive to Miami and watch the ball game in person. One more, and I'm going to go home and watch the ball game on 65-inch television.
Last one just says, Uniqlo is also a primary sponsor for PGA Tour player Adam Scott.
Is that right? Wow. That's a information out of the arse. Leave time. Is that it? We've run the board?
That's it.
All right, very good. Want to thank Teresa Goldner, particularly for staying with us for an hour, and according to some of you, taking my abuse, my questioning. And that's all the guests we have, but I appreciate you all joining us as well. Tomorrow's a Wednesday. We got a bunch of guests tomorrow. Of course, our Wednesday regular, Howard Marcus, will be with us. We're going to meet Cheryl Scott from Bakersfield College. They had their Sterling Silver dinner. And Allstein, they are of our IT, and you as reliable as the mail. They are competent as any IT company in town, and you can reach them at 661-241-0638 or hit them online at adaptive-net.com. In the meantime, it is a scoreless tie between Venezuela and the United States of America. Oh, no, it's not.
No.
Venezuela has taken a 1-0 lead in the top of the third? Bottom of the third. And the United States, the good guys, are up. Byron Buxton, who I've never heard of. Who's he play for?
Tennessee, the Twins.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Minnesota Twins. I'm sorry.
Okay. 1-0 Venezuela in the bottom of the third. In the meantime, for Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey. That's what's really going on. I will rap to you tomorrow.
This is AM 1180 KERN Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Pete Peters in Washington. Israel says it has killed 2 top Iranian officials.
Iranian security official Ali Larijani and the head of the Revolutionary Guard's all-volunteer Basish force, Goldner Soleimani, were both killed in overnight strikes, according to Israel's defense ministry. Larijani served as Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. He hails from one of Iran's most famous political families and has been an advisor to Iran's former Supreme Leader on strategy in nuclear talks with the Trump administration.
Correspondent Luke Garrett reporting Iran later confirmed the deaths of the 2 men. A top counterterrorism official is resigning over the Trump administration's war against Iran. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Joe Kent, the director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center, is stepping down, saying he cannot in good conscience support the war. In a statement announcing his resignation, Kent said that Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear, he said, that we started this war due to pressure from Israel. His resignation reflects unease among some of Donald Trump's MAGA supporters about the war. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Republicans are launching an unprecedented effort on Tuesday to hold the Senate floor and talk for days about the SAVE Act, a voter ID bill that passed the House but faces an uphill climb in the Senate. Speaker Mike Johnson says he hopes Senate Democrats don't get in the way of the voting bill.
It's ridiculous for them to oppose it. We are cheering along the Senate Republicans and trying to force this through. Hopefully, we can get this to the president's desk for signature.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 46 points. The NASDAQ rose 105. The S&P advanced 16. Oil at around $96 a barrel. More at Town Hall.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990